Cole's eyes were on the screen, but his mind was on the review team. He tabbed over to the management group chat and tagged the team's student lead. At Stuart, can you come in my office? At Cole Chun, on my way, boss. A moment later, Stuart, the head of the review team, knocked and entered. He was a bit heavy-set and wore glasses. After Cole waved him to a seat, he got right to it. Stuart, how many people do we have on review right now? 4, Stuart replied. He was used to the freshman boss calling him by his first name. To be honest, he liked it. It felt collegial. For a guy running the whole show, Cole's lack of pretense was disarming, and it hadn't diminished his authority one bit. If anything, it had grown. Double it. I want 8. We need to get more granular with the task assignments. Your main job for the rest of the year is to be ruthless about content quality. Anything even hinting at sexual exploitation or hate speech is a zero-tolerance red line. Cole's worry wasn't unfounded. He knew the story of a tech titan whose platform, in its early days, had been rocked by a scandal involving users posting content glorifying domestic terrorists. The ensuing government hearings had been a nightmare. Don't worry, Cole. We'll ban anyone who crosses the line. 1 strike and they're out, Stuart said confidently. Good. The new filtering algorithm will be live soon. It'll interface directly with the review team's admin panel and should lighten your workload. Content control was, and would always be, the highest priority. More people were essential. Just as Stuart left, Yvonne Wong breezed in. Cole, Holly Gao from the student paper is here. She wants to see you. The receptionist could have announced it, but Yvonne always volunteered for these errands. It was a perfect excuse, blessed by Jasmine herself, to march right into the freshman's office. Cole didn't have a personal assistant. Jasmine had made sure that position was never listed in any hiring calls, a fact the entire company silently accepted. Fine, send her in, Cole said without looking up. A moment later, the click-clack of high heels announced her arrival. Holly Gao, his upperclassman, appeared before him, a sight he hadn't seen in a while. Holly, long time no see. Please have a seat. He stood up to welcome her. Yvonne, could you ask the front desk to get us some coffee? Holly surveyed the office, her expression one of pure astonishment. Cole, this place just keeps getting bigger. A year ago, he'd had a little tea shop, then a tiny office in the student venture lab. Now, he occupied half a floor of the gallery's office tower. The freshman in front of her was supposedly worth millions. She regretted not making her move sooner. She should have gone all in, thrown caution to the wind, even if it meant stealing him away from someone else. A pang of regret shot through her. She'd missed her chance to be the co-owner of a multi-million-dollar fortune. While her eyes took in a modern decor, her mind was kicking itself. So, what can I do for you today? Cole asked, his voice dripping with false modesty. Inside, he was screaming, just say it. Are you here to interview me? I'm ready. Looks like you're about to get famous again, Cole, Holly said with a demure smile. I'm here on behalf of the Student Activities Board to interview you. She tugged at the V-neck of her dress, her smile turning sultry. The AC in here doesn't seem to be working very well. It's a little warm. The collar of her dress fluttered, offering fleeting glimpses of an ample cleavage, giving her the alluring air of a young, confident woman. But the boss in front of her had already navigated far deeper waters. He remained unmoved by the scenic view. He put on a look of surprise. Really? I thought I'd turn it down. The thermostat is set to 72. Oh, maybe you're just feeling warm from walking in. He smoothly changed the subject. So, where should we do the interview? Is here okay? Here's fine, Holly said, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes as she realized her little maneuver had failed. All right then, ask away, Cole said, straightening his t-shirt and running his fingers through his hair. Not so fast. I'm thirsty. Where's that coffee you mentioned? Holly shot him a wounded look as if to say, is this any way to treat an upperclassman? All right. Sorry, I'll go check. Cole jogged to the door. Hey, Penny, is that coffee ready? Penny, the receptionist, was a sophomore from the fine arts program who worked part-time. When she wasn't there, everyone was the receptionist. Coming. The voice wasn't Penny's. It was Yvonne, who walked in carrying a mug of coffee. She placed it on the desk in front of Holly, then plopped down on the sofa against the wall, pulled out her phone, and showed no intention of leaving. Holly sighed internally. It seemed her plan for a private, seductive interview was dead on arrival. Resigned, she signaled for her companion, who had been waiting outside, to come in. Cole saw it was the same guy with the camera from last time. Though disappointed, Holly remained professional and completed her task, engaging Cole in a serious discussion about Headline Today's soaring success. After the interview, Holly smiled. Cole, you might have some more good news coming your way in a few days. You're about to become the poster child for student entrepreneurs. I'll take that good luck, Holly. I just hope I can keep providing jobs for more Eastwood students, Cole said humbly. Holly's smile returned to its demure state. She and the cameraman said their goodbyes and left. Yvonne, her surveillance mission complete, returned to her desk. Just then, his Facebook Messenger chimed. It was Jasmine. Cole, come downstairs. On my way, boss. Cole immediately headed out, ending up in the same elevator as Holly. The three of them shared an awkward smile. A thought sparked in Holly's mind, bringing a flash of hope. Was he going to ask her to lunch? So, where are you off to? She asked. Just running an errand downstairs. Oh, the hope died as quickly as it had appeared. Cole stepped out of the gallery's main entrance and glanced around. And then he saw them, all three his girls, dressed in flowing white, smiling like angels. Serena was even bouncing on her feet and waving, as if they hadn't seen each other in ages. But Cole's mind flashed back to the Chongsams and silk stockings from the other night. A wave of heat rushed through him, and he practically sprinted toward them. Holly, who had followed him out, stared at the three impossibly beautiful girls, her expression unreadable. Don't you guys have class? Cole asked with a grin. Class just ended, Serena and Luna said in unison, their voices sweet. Cole, the birthday present I ordered for you just arrived today. It's 2 days late, Jasmine said, a hint of apology in her voice. The official moment had passed. What? There's more? It's not late, it's never late. What is it? Cole's interest was instantly piqued, and he looked at Jasmine with eager eyes. Here. Jasmine tilted her chin towards something beside her. Then she opened her clenched right hand, revealing a car key. The four-ringed logo gleamed in the sun. Huh. Cole's eyes widened. Only now did he notice the car parked nearby, covered by a sun shield. He had assumed it belonged to some other company in the building. Serena and Luna, standing on either side of the car, lifted the gray cover. It was just draped over, not tied down, so it came off easily, revealing a 2010 Audi A4L. This is your birthday present for me. Do you like it? Jasmine held the key out with both hands, her phoenix-like eyes curving into crescents filled with affection. I love it. How could he not? It was exactly what he wanted, but it was so expensive. A moderately upgraded model would easily run over $50,000. But it was a gift from his girl. He had to accept it. He took the key, so excited he wanted to plant a kiss on her right then and there. Go on, try it out. But take it slow. You just got your license, Jasmine reminded him, her voice full of concern. You got it. Cole happily walked a circle around the car, his admiration obvious. Not far away, Holly's expression grew even more complex. She felt utterly defeated. She had her own assets and a face she considered pretty good. But Jasmine had killer legs, a bewitching figure, and was, she had to admit, more beautiful. And now she was using an Audi to woo him? How could she possibly compete with that? It was lunchtime, and more people were streaming out of the office building. Without exception, their eyes were drawn to the three angelic figures in the open-air parking lot. Men and women alike, who had initially just slowed their pace, stopped dead in their tracks when they heard the words birthday present. A car worth tens of thousands of dollars as a gift was shocking enough. But for such a beautiful girl to give it to a guy, it sounded like something out of a fantasy novel. Who would believe it? People who came out later, curious about the gathering crowd, stopped as well. The three girls were just that captivating. Even under the blazing sun, they had to get a better look. If the girls weren't afraid of a little sun, why should they be? The more curious ones asked those who had been there longer what was going on. When they heard it was a car, a gift from a girl to a guy, their jaws nearly hit the pavement. And it was a nice car, too. Was this for real? People have a herd mentality. More and more onlookers gathered, forming a small crowd. They stood about 50 feet away, watching the drama unfold. Holly's view was blocked. Unwilling to miss a thing, she pushed her way through the crowd, braving the sun to get a clear look. The cameraman had no choice but to follow her. With so many people watching, the three girls began to feel a little uncomfortable. Serena pulled a small box from her backpack and held it out to Cole with both hands. She beamed, revealing a perfect row of 10 white teeth, her sparkling eyes full of anticipation. Cole, I have a present for you two. Wow. Cole, his face alight with surprise, took the box and tore off the wrapping paper right there. Inside was a smaller, more elegant box. Longins. Whoa, I was just thinking I needed to buy a business watch. Thank you. Every word that came out of Cole's mouth was laced with genuine delight. He looked at Serena with eyes that seemed to say, "You read my mind." He suppressed the instinct to mentally calculate the price. It didn't matter how much it cost. He loved it, even if he didn't wear watches often. I'm just glad you like it. The nervous tension in Serena's shoulders finally melted away, and her eyes curved into crescents. She had worried it wouldn't be the right fit. The idea had come from the watch her father wore, and she figured that for someone as mature as Cole, it would be perfect for his work. "Brother, I got you a present too," Luna said, holding a long, rectangular box. It was tied with a colorful ribbon, and the box bore the Apple logo. "Thank you, Lou." "Huh, my old Samsung has been getting really slow." Cole reached out and took it, his face a picture of perfect, timely joy. Luna's expression softened, her own worries vanishing. The smile she gave him was now purely happy. The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. 3 celestial beauties, taking turns showering this guy with gifts. It was beyond belief. Damn, what's his secret weapon? I hope you're talking about his personality. The guy's handsome. I don't buy it. For my birthday, my girlfriend gave me half a watermelon. She ate all the fruit and left me the entire rind. Did you wear it? This has to be for a movie or something, right? Isn't that a camera over there? Noticing the stares, the cameraman pointed to the lens cap, signaling that it was off. The chatter wasn't loud, but Cole could still hear it. He felt a strange sense of pride in being a kept man. And damn, it felt pretty good. Other than a few things he'd bought for Luna, he hadn't really spent much money on them. He looked at the watch in his left hand, the phone in his right, and the gleaming black car beside him. His gaze swept over the faces of Jasmine, Serena, and Luna. "Thank you for the gifts," he said with genuine sincerity. "I really, really love them. They're all things I desperately needed right now. I'm so happy." Cole was truly touched. In his past life, besides his parents and the Jasmine from back then, none of the girls he'd chased had ever remembered his birthday. That included his later, black-hearted playmates. If just one of them had remembered, he would have gladly made her his official girlfriend and showered her with rewards. But no, besides the endless stream of made-up girlfriend-centered holidays, they remembered nothing. As for him, he usually just celebrated with a simple meal. He used to hold out hope. He once said to a girlfriend he doted on, "You forgot my birthday?" She had frowned and replied coldly, "I waited all day for you to call. I guess I don't even deserve to be part of your birthday. Does love just disappear?" At that moment, Cole had given up the fight. They'd argued and broken up. But now he had love. He had people who remembered his birthday. To have 3 women like this in his life. What more could a man ask for? With such heartfelt gestures from his 3 girls, he knew he had to reciprocate. "It's hot out here. Let's all get in the car. I'll take you for a spin, we'll get some lunch, and then I'll drop you back at school." Cole ran over to the passenger side and chivalrously opened the door. He held his hand over the doorframe as Jasmine got in. The sunshield had kept the interior from getting too hot, and the AC would cool it down in no time. Jasmine had been quietly watching the other 2 girls give their gifts to Cole, a faint smile on her lips, her eyes calm, but with a small ripple of emotion beneath the surface. Seeing him act so graciously, the last of her unease dissolved, and she happily slid into the passenger seat. Cole gently closed the door, then ran to the back, opened the door for Serena and Luna, and held the doorframe for them as well. He smiled at his 2 babies. "Come on, let's go eat." The 2 girls happily climbed in. The concept of the front seat being a coveted spot hadn't occurred to them yet. Cole closed the door, got into the driver's seat, started the engine, and turned on the AC. He pulled out of the parking spot with practiced ease and headed for the exit. Holly watched the Audi's taillights disappear, a deep sigh escaping her lips. Her heart was filled with a profound sense of regret. She'd had such a golden opportunity, but she hadn't been bold enough. She was a woman. She understood that even though the 3 girls had spent a lot, the returns they would get would be 10-fold, even 100-fold. It was a shame she hadn't known it was his birthday. Otherwise, she would have scraped something together. But now it was too late. Inside the Audi, as the AC kicked in, the car became pleasantly cool. "Cole, how are you such a good driver?" Jasmine was amazed. He drove like a seasoned pro. At first, she'd been nervous, reminding him to watch for cross traffic and keep a safe distance from the car ahead. But after a few blocks, she fell silent. Her man was driving the Audi with one hand, a perfect union of man and machine, his movements fluid and effortless. He was 10 times more relaxed behind the wheel than she was. "Just talented, I guess." Cole chuckled. In his past life, he'd driven an Audi Q7. He had wanted to finance a G-Wagon, but had forced himself to resist. "Cole, this means we don't have to take a cab to go to the lake anymore." Serena, having grown up around luxury cars, was indifferent to the vehicle itself. She was only thinking about the convenience. "That's right. From now on, I can drop you right at your dorm," Cole said with a smile. Driving onto the Eastwood campus was easy enough. You just had to register. You couldn't drive on the main student thoroughfares, but there were designated entrances for faculty and students with cars. Eastwood Tech had the same policy. Once you registered your information, you could drive right in. There were 3 gates for vehicle access. You just had to park in the designated areas, or you get blacklisted. Perhaps because a car was an easily identifiable target, the rules were slightly more relaxed than for non-students entering on foot. Luna alternated between looking at Cole and gazing out the window. A smile touched her lips, but it was already starting to look strained. It was the first time Luna had ever been in such a nice car, and she felt a little out of place. This car was a gift from Jasmine. All she had given him was a phone. She could tell that Serena, sitting next to her, was completely at ease with all of this. She came from a family of high-ranking officials, and her grandfather was wealthy. Suddenly, Luna was acutely aware of the immense gap between herself and the other two girls. The deep-seated insecurity she kept buried in her heart began to surface again. She instinctively tried to push the feeling away, but it was overwhelming. Inexplicably, she felt the distance between her and Cole widening, even though she was his finance chief and they were incredibly close. Still, she felt a barrier between them. Her rational mind knew it wasn't something Cole had put up. It was her own doing, stemming from a childhood steeped in bitter poverty. She felt ashamed. The silence from the back seat immediately caught Cole's attention. A quick glance in the rearview mirror was all it took. He could read Luna's micro-expressions like a book. He didn't need to think hard to pinpoint the cause. Back when he was in college in his past life, he had felt that same sting of insecurity. He'd had a roommate from a wealthy family who drove a luxury car, and the other roommates would always try to curry favor. Only he, with his stubborn pride, couldn't bring himself to do it, and ended up being passively ostracized. Sometimes when he saw girls from well-off families drive by in their fancy cars, he'd feel a pang of inadequacy. One of them had even tried to strike up a conversation with him several times, but he'd been too proud and poor to engage. Even with his good looks, he lacked the spirit to be a kept man. It wasn't until his later, darker phase that he'd finally shed those insecurities. Cole deeply empathized with Luna, but he couldn't comfort her directly right now. It would only make her feel singled out and more self-conscious. Insecurity was a part of human nature. A millionaire in a $200,000 car might feel insecure next to a billionaire in a $2 million supercar. And that billionaire would feel insecure next to an old-money heir who treated cash like wallpaper. It was nothing unusual. He needed to find the right moment to help Luna let go of her hang-ups and understand her own importance. Pretending not to notice, Cole shifted the conversation to company finances, a topic Luna excelled at. He kept emphasizing things like, "You make the final call. You have the authority to approve or deny payments. Finance is the lifeblood of the company, and the three of you are the absolute core of Headline today." As he spoke, he started thinking about what gifts to get the three of them for their birthdays. A surreptitious glance in the rearview mirror confirmed his strategy was working. The tension in Luna's expression had eased. Cole felt a wave of relief. The car cruised to Midtown Plaza, a shopping center about 4 miles from Eastwood University. In this era, it was considered a high-end place for dining and shopping. It would later be overshadowed by the opening of a newer, more modern mall. Jasmine watched, a strange feeling creeping over her, as Cole expertly found the entrance to the underground garage, backed into a parking spot, and led them to the elevator as if he'd been there 100 times. How could he be so familiar with this place? Cole didn't bother hiding his familiarity. Who would suspect he was living a second life? If asked, his answer was always the same: talent. The four of them were alone in the elevator, but when it reached the ground floor, a crowd pushed in. The three girls were squeezed into a corner, with Serena in the very back. Cole stood guard at the front, his arms spread out to form a protective barrier, shielding Jasmine and Luna. He wanted to prevent them from being jostled, or worse, groped. He was very possessive. The main threat came from two large, wealthy-looking women whose sheer size was formidable. He was worried that if they were pushed back, Serena would be crushed. The elevator was crowded and stopped at every floor. The men and women inside couldn't help but sneak glances at the three girls. Truly beautiful women were rare, let alone three at once. Jasmine and Luna felt uncomfortable under the scrutiny and pressed themselves tightly against Cole's back. When they finally reached the 7th floor, all four of them breathed a collective sigh of relief. "Next time, we're getting out on the ground floor and taking the escalator," Serena said, pinching her nose. The perfume on one of the women, the one with the big gold rings, was overpowering. She must have bathed in it before leaving home. The smell of perfume mixed with food was nauseating. They all agreed. No more express elevators during mealtimes. They walked along the 7th floor corridor, searching for a restaurant that appealed to them. They passed on hot pot and traditional sit-down places. Then Jasmine pointed to a teppanyaki restaurant. "How about this? I've never had it. Let's give it a try." The other three agreed. Serena and Luna genuinely hadn't tried it before. Cole was just pretending. Welcome to Blue Whale. A table for four. The hostess greeted them, her expression as flat as boiled water, the telltale sign of a veteran employee. 4, Cole confirmed. The restaurant was reasonably busy, with a dozen or so tables occupied. There were no private rooms, just several U-shaped counters. A spot for 4 had just opened up, but they didn't sit down right away. The 3 girls feigned curiosity about the cooking station, but they were really watching Cole, waiting to see where he would sit. Cole, in turn, pretended to admire the chef's fried rice technique. Inside, he was stressing. Who should sit on the outside? No matter who sat on either side of him, one girl would be left on the periphery, creating a subtle but real sense of distance. It wouldn't be a big deal, but it would definitely sting a little. His mind raced. He made a snap decision, walked over to Luna, and slid into the seat on the aisle. It's more spacious out here. I'll take this one. This meant that Luna, who was closest, would inevitably sit next to him. Serena would be in the middle, and Jasmine on the inside. He'd have to make it up to Jasmine later. As expected, a flash of joy crossed Luna's face, and she slid into the seat beside him. She was happy. Her first instinct had been to take the outermost seat herself. She hadn't expected Cole to sit there, and a wave of warmth spread through her. Serena sat down next to Luna, not having had the nerve to squeeze past her. Jasmine's expression was placid, betraying no displeasure, but her calmness made Cole a little nervous. Just then, the waiter brought over a menu, but only one. Perfect, Cole thought. One was best. If there had been 2, Jasmine and Serena would have likely shared one, and he and Luna would have shared the other. That would have created 2 distinct factions, a terrible outcome. Jasmine, can you order for me too? Cole stood up, pretending he was going to pass the menu across the other 2 girls, only to realize he couldn't reach. He got up and walked around behind them, leaning in close to Jasmine. Take a look and see what you want, and order for me while you're at it. The unspoken message was clear. You could decide for me. It was perfectly normal for a younger brother to ask his older sister to order for him. He figured Serena and Luna wouldn't object. If Luna would just say, Jasmine, can you order for me too? Then everything would be perfect. The next second, Luna's clear voice piped up. Jasmine, I don't know what to get. Could you order for me too? Cole's heart settled. This way, Luna wouldn't be left to order last. Serena could look at the menu with Jasmine, minimizing the chance of any hurt feelings. Now it all depended on how Jasmine responded. Okay, sure, Jasmine replied coolly. She took the menu from Cole and unfolded it, placing it on the counter between herself and Serena. Cole knew he'd navigated the minefield. He pretended to lean in and look at the menu with them, his left hand secretly giving Jasmine's upper arm a light squeeze. So smooth. You're in charge of ordering. I'm in charge of eating, he declared before heading back to his seat. All right, Jasmine said. When they'd first sat down, she had felt a prickle of irritation. She was always the one sitting next to him, but today she wasn't, and she couldn't very well say anything. She'd been stewing in silence. But when he handed her the menu, her mood instantly lifted. She loved being the one to make decisions for him. It was a satisfying feeling, a validation of her place. The surreptitious squeeze on her arm banished the last of her annoyance. It was his way of showing he cared, and that was all she needed. Ultimately, she held more weight than the other 2 girls. That being the case, she could be gracious. It was fine for Luna to sit next to him. It wasn't like she was sitting in his lap. Jasmine and Serena discussed the options, and the food was ordered quickly. The 4 of them then turned their attention to the chef. The spotlight effect of 3 stunningly beautiful girls kicked in again. The customers across the counter kept stealing glances. The woman sitting next to one of them looked particularly displeased. Customers at other counters also kept looking over. One beautiful girl was one thing, but 3 was a spectacle. The young chef in the tall hat was visibly nervous under their combined gaze. He fumbled a practice move, catching an egg on the back of his knife, and ended up breaking 3 in a row. His face turned crimson with embarrassment. A sharp-looking female chef from nearby immediately took his place, apologizing to Cole's table. The 3 girls realized they probably should have chosen a restaurant with a private room. If it weren't for the 6-foot, solidly built Cole sitting beside them, they would have likely been approached by now. But it happened anyway, just not by a man. A few tables away, a group of 3 men and 1 woman, the reverse of their own group, were watching them. They were a team from a well-known local financial firm. They wore dress shirts and slacks, the shirts in various colors and of good quality, giving them the air of modern financial elites. I bet the one next to him is his girlfriend. The other 2 are probably her best friends, said the team's senior manager, a man in his early 30s wearing a Rolex. But the guy passed the menu to the one on the end, countered the woman next to him, who was in her late 20s, reasonably attractive, with a trendy, wavy haircut. Then they're probably siblings, the Rolex wearer said with confidence. The other two men, both in their late 20s with clean-cut faces and the practiced calm of seasoned salesmen, nodded in agreement, their hair styled with gel. The Rolex wearer gave them a pointed look. Go get their numbers. Where's the nerve you use to close deals? Girls of this caliber are a rare find. The two men exchanged a glance and chuckled awkwardly. They were hesitant. The two girls on the end looked a bit cold. The one who seemed to be the girlfriend was more approachable, gentler. This wasn't like picking up girls at a club. In a club, they had the upper hand. But the cool, intelligent aura of these two girls suggested they were not ordinary. Though they looked young, the men felt an immense, unspoken pressure. They wanted to get up, but their legs wouldn't move. Look at you cowards, the woman with the wavy hair sneered. Give me one of your clients each, and I'll go get the numbers for you. The two men looked at each other again, hesitating slightly. It was a steep price to pay. In the world of finance, your biggest rivals were on your own team. But when their gazes drifted back to the two girls, the price suddenly seemed low. If they could just get their numbers, they'd have a chance to ask them out. One thing could lead to another. Go ahead, one of the men agreed. The other nodded. All right, you said it. Mr. Liu is our witness, the woman said, triumphantly flicking her hair and shooting a flirtatious glance at the Rolex wearer. That's your business. As long as you all agree, it's fine with me. All I care about is performance, the manager, Mr. Liu said. Under the table, his hand found the woman's thigh, giving it a squeeze before pulling away. He was feigning impartiality, but he had effectively sanctioned the bet. The woman chuckled, stood up, and then heard Mr. Liu add, and get one more while you're at it. She froze. One more? Did he mean the gentle-looking one? She looked at her other two colleagues and saw their tacit agreement in their eyes. Fine, the look said. The woman cursed them silently, but kept a smile on her face. She turned and began to walk toward Cole's table, her hips swaying in her pencil skirt. Though only 30, a small paunch was already visible, and her calves were a bit thick. The chef, being so close, could hear their hushed conversation, but paid it no mind. It wasn't his business. He just glanced at their table. As the woman approached, the guy at the end of the table turned his head and looked at her. Only then did she realize how handsome he was. But his gaze was cold, colder, even, than her manager's, and laced with a ferocity she'd never seen before. It felt as if he would slap her if she took another step. A shiver of fear ran down her spine. She wanted to turn back. She glanced over her shoulder at her colleagues, at their eager eyes, and thought about the two clients she'd been promised. She pushed onward, pasting a professional smile on her face. Hi there. She expected a polite response. What she got was a single, icy sentence. It's best if you don't. Go back to your table now, or this is going to get very awkward for you. I'm warning you now. Cole's face was a blank mask. He'd noticed the woman the moment she stood up. With his experience, he knew exactly what they were up to. They were afraid of losing face in public, so they sent the woman to test the waters. It wasn't common, but it happened, mostly in nightclubs or on the street. If his three girls weren't his, he'd let them handle it themselves. But that was a hypothetical that could never exist. To hesitate for even a second would be a betrayal of everything he was. His mind had already raced ahead, planning to knock the guy out, settle it privately. And if that failed, call Mr. Zhao to bail him out. He would not tolerate this for even a tenth of a second. The three girls turned their gazes to the woman. Cole was never like this. There had to be a reason for his tone. Ha, easy there, handsome. Why so tense? I just saw that these two young ladies have a certain elegance and wanted to get to know them. The man's tone and glare made the woman's stomach clench. But years of sales work had ingrained in her a certain arrogance toward younger people, and she managed a strained smile. What he said is what I'm saying. Drop it, Jasmine said coldly. She'd dealt with all sorts of guys trying to get her number at Eastwood Tech, including ones who sent their female friends. Usually, a simple rejection was enough. But for those who persisted, thinking it would work, she would lose her temper. That was how she'd earned her Tyrannosaurus nickname. And what I'm saying, too, don't make this embarrassing for yourself, Serena added, her eyes narrowing. She hadn't experienced this before, but she understood immediately. To her, this was harassment, not getting to know someone. Can't you just eat your own food? What about us made you think you could just interrupt our meal? She wasn't afraid of trouble. She could call Professor Chun, or even her grandfather. The woman was mortified. This was not how she'd pictured it. None of her prepared scenarios had played out. Were all women this guarded? She felt herself losing face as people around them stared. She forced a couple of laughs to save what little dignity she had left. My goodness, you're all so tense. I just thought you had great style and wanted to say hello. If you're not interested, that's fine. No need for such a harsh tone. You're making this awkward, you know? A flicker of resentment ignited within her. That wasn't enough. She turned her attention to Luna. This girl looked gentle, she thought. Surely she'd be more reasonable than the other two ice queens. Don't blame me, handsome, she thought. If your girlfriend gets stolen, it's your own damn fault. She figured the boy was just a student, no match for a working professional with a decent income. Once the girl saw the difference, she wouldn't stick with him. The woman instantly shifted her demeanor, putting on a friendly smile. You have such a wonderful presence too, sweetie. I'd love to be friends. Her words were cut short by a sharp, shut up. The woman's smile froze on her face. Luna, the girl she'd seen as gentle as water, was frowning. Her eyes narrowed with a ferocity that matched the boy's. What was wrong with this world? The woman was completely baffled. Go on, back to your table. Enjoy your meal, Cole said, tipping his chin in the direction she'd come from. He was deeply satisfied with how his three girls had handled the situation. It saved him a lot of trouble and complication. It felt damn good. Often, the greatest threat to a relationship came from a girlfriend's female friends. They could be incredibly influential, masters of manipulation, and the root of all sorts of conflict. They would do everything in their power to pull your girlfriend into their circle, to take her out. And if that circle included clubs or road trips, well, a life without so-called best friends was often a much more harmonious one. Cole wasn't worried about his girls being led astray. They were all strong-willed. He was simply annoyed. A nice meal should be a time for food and pleasant conversation, nothing more. The woman turned and walked away, her face dark. She didn't say a word. As a sales professional, she had a sharp eye. She could tell the four young people were wearing decent clothes. What if they had connections? Back at her table, her three companions sat in silence. They had seen and heard everything. They were smart enough to know they had no standing to cause a scene here. The woman didn't even sit down. She grabbed her purse, her expression grim, and stormed out of the restaurant. The three men exchanged glances, too embarrassed to stay. They claimed they were finished, got up, and went to pay the bill. The curious stares from the surrounding tables were burning holes in their backs. The restaurant returned to its peaceful state. The four of them put the incident behind them and focused on the meal. The various cooking techniques of teppanyaki were quite entertaining. Cole's mind was sharp, yet relaxed. He had to keep the conversation flowing, making sure all three girls felt included, while maintaining a light and easy atmosphere. It was exhausting but joyful. Teppanyaki was served in individual portions, so everyone got their own plate. There was no repeat of the awkwardness at home, where three pairs of chopsticks had all tried to place food on his plate at once. After dinner, I didn't linger. People had work and classes to get back to. Cole first dropped Jasmine at her dorm at Eastwood Tech. It was too hot to let her walk. He still hadn't properly thanked her for the car. He'd have to make time to treat her properly. Then he dropped Serena at the Eastwood Law School. And, finally, Luna. In the car, Cole started a conversation. Hey, baby Lou, how much of our Bitcoin have we sold? We've only sold 4,662 coins recently. The price is at $30 a coin now. I think it's still going to go up. Should we wait a bit longer before selling more? Luna asked, her dark eyes thoughtful. It's already at $30? Cole was startled. He'd been so busy he'd lost track. When the price hit $32, it was going to crash, and it wouldn't recover until early 2013, when it would bottom out at 10 cents a coin. The main reasons were a series of international events: the worsening European debt crisis, instability in the developing world, and the temporary cooling of tensions after bin Laden's death, which had halted certain clandestine transactions. The U.S. and Europe would then shift their focus to stirring up trouble in the South China Sea. Post a big sell order, 20,000 coins. Whether it sells or not, we stop selling for now. That would leave him with around 150,000 coins, which was enough. In early 2013, he would move them to a new exchange, getting them out of MT, Gox. Then he could just sit back and admire them. The real power of cryptocurrency wasn't in cashing out for fiat money. It was for trading for resources. It had another name: borderless currency. This was the main reason it faced so much government crackdown. It was incredibly disruptive. Its true purpose was to pay for things under the table. No taxes, no traceable fund movements. In 2021, a certain tech mogul would start buying up Bitcoin like crazy, driving up the price because he and his company had made a breakthrough in crypto technology. Hoarding Bitcoin was safer than keeping money in an American bank, and it was a way to keep Uncle Sam from taking a cut. Okay, brother, Luna agreed obediently. If Cole said it, she did it. The car pulled into the shade of some trees near the accounting department's women's dorm. Cole stopped the car. "Lou, don't get out yet," he said, then climbed from the driver's seat into the back. The Audi had upgraded reflective, one-way tinted windows, making it difficult to see inside, especially in the sunlight. Okay. Luna's face flushed slightly. She knew what he was up to. Cole sat down close to her and gently put an arm around her shoulder. She leaned into his embrace. "Baby Lou, I love the phone you gave me. I'm going to keep it forever. And when we have a baby one day, I'll tell them this was a gift from their mommy to their daddy." "Okay," Luna whispered, her heart melting. Her eyes were soft as water. Nothing was more powerful than Cole's affirmation. All her anxiety vanished, replaced by shy thoughts of having children and the beautiful future they would share, the life she had always dreamed of. She would have his children after graduation. Her grandmother, when she was still alive, used to say she had the look of a woman who could bear many children. The thought made her blush even deeper. And this was Cole's ultimate dream, one he had to hold on it tightly. They say ideals are lofty, but reality is harsh. He believed it, but he also believed that if he fought hard enough, he could make reality just as full and beautiful. He tasted the sweet fruit in his mouth, the juice seemingly endless. After a while, guessing that time was running out, Luna finally pulled away. She couldn't let him kiss or touch her anymore. Strange feelings were starting to stir. Her face and neck were flushed, and her chest rose and fell rapidly. She looked at him with pleading eyes. "Brother, I have to get to class. Bree and Felicity are waiting for me." "All right, okay. I'll walk you to the door," Cole said, his voice full of reluctant disappointment. He couldn't park by the dorm for long. After waving goodbye to Luna, who had smoothed out her skirt, he drove away. Not long after he got back to the company, he received a phone call from an unknown local number. "Hello. Cole, it's Professor Diaz." "Oh, Professor Diaz, hello. I didn't have your number. I'm so sorry." Cole sat up straight, apologizing profusely. The professor had never given him her number, and he hadn't felt it was his place to ask. "I'm calling to tell you something. In a few days, some state officials will be visiting Eastwood to survey the university's progress. The effectiveness of the student entrepreneurship program is on their agenda. I want you to be prepared." Professor Diaz's voice was calm on the other end, as if she were discussing something completely ordinary. Cole, however, was stunned. Holy crap, this is a big deal. He'd never even seen a state-level official before. A flicker of excitement sparked within him, but he feigned modesty. "But, Professor, my little venture is just a small-time thing. Will it reflect badly on Eastwood?" "Cut the act. You're probably thrilled. Just act natural, carry on with your daily work, and don't worry about a thing. We'll look at the venture lab on our own. You wait over your office, but give the person in charge on our end a heads up." "Ah, don't you worry, Professor. I will absolutely complete the mission," Cole said, not the least bit embarrassed at having his true feelings exposed. He was, after all, shameless. "And don't put on a show. That's very important. Just be yourselves. Let the officials see your genuine, hard-working spirit," Professor Diaz added. "Got it, Professor." Rest assured, Cole knew what he had to do. After hanging up, he immediately called Wyatt. "Wyatt, some state officials might be visiting our company in the next few days. Just keep things running as normal over there. Professor Diaz will bring them by. Whatever they ask, just tell them the truth." "You got it, Cole. I understand," Wyatt replied, a clear note of excitement in his voice. This was huge. It meant Headline Today was on the radar of the higher-ups. 5 days passed. It was the end of June, and Cole had started to think the officials weren't coming. Then, around 10 in the morning, he received a text from Wyatt. 2 words, "They're here." Cole's spirits soared. He didn't notify anyone else, letting everything proceed as usual. He himself started to feel nervous, constantly checking his posture. What kind of expression should he wear? Overwhelmingly honored? He'd never met a state official in his past life. Not even a county commissioner had visited his web company. He fretted for an hour before he heard voices outside. It was Yvonne calling out to Professor Diaz. He had deliberately left his office door open. "They're here." Cole quickly sat up straight, fixing his gaze on his computer screen, his brow furrowed in a look of deep concentration. Outside, a group of about a dozen people entered the office. They were all middle-aged or older men, dressed in various colored polo shirts. Some had bellies, some didn't. Some wore glasses, some wore bags under their eyes. "Yvonne, you all just keep working. Don't mind us," Professor Diaz said with a smile, waving a hand at her. She then turned to a calm-faced man of about 60 and began her introduction. "This is Headline Today's expanded office space. We have over 50 employees working on site. The business development staff are often on the road, and they have offices in 8 major cities. The old man listened and nodded, strolling slowly along the rows of desks, occasionally asking a question or curiously observing what the employees were doing. After a moment, his gaze settled on someone's back in the editorial department. He stretched his neck, looking left and right, a puzzled expression on his face. "This is the editorial department," Yvonne said, taking a cue from Professor Diaz's glance and stepping forward to explain. "They're responsible for reviewing website content and managing the fiction section." She had already figured out that these were all important officials. Why else would Professor Diaz be acting as their tour guide? The old man nodded and walked toward the editorial department, his hands clasped behind his back. He leaned in to peer over Lin Fan's shoulder. Lin knew people had come into the office, but she was too busy to pay attention. She had just set up a second editorial team, which reported to Fiona and was swamped with short story submissions. Suddenly aware of someone behind her, she turned around. When she saw who it was, she jumped. Then she pouted, a look of annoyance on her face. "You scared me. Why didn't you say anything?" "I was just looking. How was I supposed to know you were here?" "You never told me," the old man said, not in the least bit offended by Lin's tone. His face crinkled into a smile. The nearby colleagues looked over in surprise. Yvonne's mind raced. Lin knows this old man. Professor Diaz, standing behind them, looked completely unfazed, as if she had expected this all along. Lin said dismissively, "Well, look all you want. I have to get back to work." Yes, you work. What is it you're doing here?" the old man asked, his tone exceptionally friendly. "Reading manuscripts, analyzing their commercial value, and pointing out their flaws," Lin said without looking up. "Oh, is that so? Let me see." The old man's interest was piqued. He reached for the mouse. "Show me how to use this thing." "You're interrupting my work," Lin grumbled, but she reluctantly gave up the mouse and showed the old man how to navigate the interface, explaining what each button did. The other members of the delegation dispersed, wandering around in small groups, occasionally asking employees about their work, their salaries, and whether they faced any difficulties. Inside his office, Cole could no longer sit still. He composed himself by the door, and when he stepped out, his expression was formal and serious, with a touch of humility. There was no need to feign surprise. The officials were smart. They knew he'd be prepared. Overacting would only look bad. "Professor Diaz, you're here," he said, addressing the only person he knew. "Cole, perfect timing. The officials from the state government would like to have a brief chat with you," Professor Diaz said with a smile, beckoning him over. Cole hurried forward. "Of course, Professor." Several of the men in their 40s looked at him curiously. He kept his eyes clear, projecting the look of a proper college student with just a hint of nervousness. But no one spoke to him. Cole spotted Lin and the old man sitting at her desk. From the deference shown by the two men standing behind the old man, he deduced this must be the main official of the visit. But he noticed something strange. Lin was being completely informal, even looking at the old man with a hint of disdain, as if he were hopelessly out of touch. Cole didn't press. He stood patiently by Professor Diaz's side, confident he would be summoned soon. He waited for nearly half an hour. Finally, the old man stood up and walked toward him and Professor Diaz. Cole immediately straightened his posture. Professor Diaz gestured in introduction. "Governor Fan, this is the founder and chairman of Headline Today, Cole Chun." "Hello, Governor Fan. I'm Cole Chun," he said, his voice enthusiastic but respectful. He focused his attention, ready to shake the governor's hand if it was offered. Hello. Governor Fan extended his right hand. Cole instantly offered both of his, gently shaking the governor's hand and bowing slightly. "Governor Fan, it's an honor, Governor Fan." Half of his nervousness was real. This was the most powerful person he had ever met in 2 lifetimes. It wasn't an audience you could just get anytime. "Don't be nervous. We're just here to look around, have a casual chat," Governor Fan said with a kind smile. "For the state's leadership to visit Headline today, we are truly honored. Our humble office is graced by your presence." Cole stammered, acting out the part of a student overwhelmed by meeting a high-ranking official. "Cole, the governor prefers straight talk. Don't act like one of those old sycophants," Professor Diaz gently chided, though she knew full well he was putting on an act. "Relax, young man. Just think of me as a client asking for information," Governor Fan said with a placid smile. He saw right through Professor Diaz's concern for the boy, but it didn't matter. The governor then asked some questions about the company's development, such as its profit model and the number of advertisers. Cole answered everything truthfully, not holding back. He made sure to highlight his profits, the taxes he paid, the jobs he created, and the initiatives he had spurred. These were his accomplishments, and when a leader asks, you boast. The group of officials gathered around Cole. Someone was taking pictures. Cole was ecstatic inside. Huh, I'm famous. On the surface, however, he remained calm and composed, earnestly recounting the story of his company's growth. The state officials didn't stay for long. Cole saw them to the elevator. When he returned to the office, everyone was buzzing with excitement. Headline Today had truly made a name for itself. Soon, there would be news reports, maybe even a segment on TV. Only Lynn Fan remained unfazed, engrossed in her personal project. She had started writing a short story of her own. Cole glanced at Lynn, and a thought began to form in his mind. That Governor Fan. Wow, this is huge. Doesn't that mean I have a golden goose? I should just let Lynn do whatever she wants, pay her even if she doesn't work. No, wait, she has to work. I need to cultivate her sense of responsibility to the company. Not long after he returned to his office, Yvonne walked in, holding a box. She had a slightly reproachful look on her face. You don't even tell us it's your birthday. What? Afraid we can't afford to buy you a car. Hey, it's not like that. I forgot myself. Only my girls remembered, Cole said with a sheepish grin. This is for you. A tie. You'll probably need it. I'm sure you'll have some formal events to attend in the future. Yvonne placed a box on his desk. It was from Brooks Brothers. Judging by the elegant packaging, it must have cost a few $100s. Thanks, Yvonne. Cole took the box with both hands and opened it in front of her. Inside was a dark-colored tie. The material was excellent, and it looked quite high-end. Wow, I love it. Thank you. He then held up the empty box, examining it from all angles. Where's the matching suit? I can't just wear this with a t-shirt, can I? You're lucky you got anything. And you're already asking for a suit. Yvonne scoffed and turned to leave, her hips swaying. After a few steps, she stopped, turned back to look at Cole, a flirtatious glint in her eyes. I'll buy you a suit, but you have to take me to dinner. Just the two of us. In your dreams. I don't have time to take you to dinner, Cole said, dismissing her. He was already thinking about asking Jasmine out. There was a fire that needed extinguishing, and he needed firefighter yarn. I knew it. Just wear it with your t-shirt then. Yvonne tossed her head and stalked off, her movements stiff, her hips no longer swaying. Cole ignored her and started trying on the tie, pleased with how it looked on a handsome devil like himself. Putting the tie down, he sent a message to Jasmine. Hey boss, want to get dinner tonight? He waited an hour before she replied. Not in the mood to talk to you. Cole raised an eyebrow. As expected, a woman's heart was a deep ocean. She acted like nothing was wrong, but she was still holding a grudge. He shamelessly replied, but I miss you, boss. Jasmine, no, you don't. Cole chuckled, put his phone down, and decided to let her stew for a bit. She didn't reply. He waited until 4 in the afternoon. His messenger chimed. Cole, who had been patiently waiting, glanced at the screen. It was Jasmine. Jasmine, where are we eating? Cole immediately replied. How about a steakhouse, boss? Then we can go for a walk along the Riverwalk. And guess what? A state governor visited headline today. Jasmine, not a steakhouse. Pick me up at 6. Cole, you got it, boss. Serena and Luna had to study for their upcoming exams. Speaking of exams, Cole fell silent. It was time to face the music and fail again. At 6 in the evening, with the sun still bright, Cole waited at the entrance of Eastwood Tech. Jasmine had told him not to bother coming in, saying she'd be out by the time he finished registering at the gate. He still ended up waiting for nearly 20 minutes. Finally, she appeared at the school gate. She was wearing a small, square-collared yellow knit top that revealed her delicate collarbones. The yellow color accentuated the fairness of her skin. She paired it with a white mid-length skirt that showed off her slender calves. The waist was perfectly tailored, creating a flawless curve with her hips. On her feet were a pair of white flats. Her expression was calm, her gait light and elegant. She exuded an air of sophisticated maturity that drew the eyes of everyone within a 100-foot radius, both male and female. When they saw her walk up to Cole, the gazes of the male students instantly turned to envy. The female students were a mix of admiration and envy. Is that her brother? Are you stupid? That's definitely not her brother. He's probably some rich kid. She just calls him that. When it was just the two of them, Jasmine was much more relaxed. She tossed her small, camel-colored bag to him. Cole, the simp Chun, caught it effortlessly and rushed to open the passenger door for her. His eager-to-please demeanor earned him looks of sour-faced contempt from passers-by. If the term simp had been popular then, it would have been plastered on his forehead. The Audi made a graceful U-turn and drove off with Eastwood Tech's #1 campus beauty. They didn't have a proper meal, just grabbed a bite on a pedestrian street near the Riverwalk. Jasmine seemed a bit listless, her expression placid, but she still clung tightly to his arm. Cole knew exactly what was going on. She was waiting for him to step in her trap, so she could find an excuse to get angry. He wasn't falling for it. When they got to the river walk, it was packed. On a summer evening, the place was bustling with activity. The water level was high, submerging the lower promenade. People were sitting on the steps, dangling their feet in the water or wading in the knee-deep shallows. Hey, let's go play in the water, okay? What's so fun about that? We're not kids anymore. Cole just chuckled and started walking toward the water, the arm linked with his offering no resistance. The two of them drew a lot of attention. The manslaying charm of Jasmine was just too powerful. It wasn't until they reached the water's edge, where the light from the street lamps dimmed, that the stares subsided. I don't think I'll go in. My feet will get wet, and these aren't sandals, Jasmine said, her eyes fixed on the nearby river, a hint of longing in them. She looked down at her shoes, hesitating. Don't worry, leave it to me. Come on, take off your shoes. Cole bent down and gently lifted her calf. Her skin was incredibly smooth, so much so that he had to swallow hard. Jasmine steadied herself with a hand on his shoulder and obediently let him take off her shoes. Cole took off his own as well and placed them neatly on the steps. Then he helped her into the water. The submerged platform was wide, a good 15 feet, so there was no danger of stepping into deep water. The river water was cool, a perfect antidote to the summer heat. Jasmine held up her skirt with one hand, and the coolness of the water flowing over her feet made her expression relax into one of pure bliss. With Cole's steady hand holding hers, she felt completely safe. Fun, right? Cole grinned mischievously. Jasmine turned and shot him a sideways glance, her words a playful contradiction to her expression. Not fun at all. Your feet feel good, right? They do not. I wish we could come here and play in the water every day. You're so annoying. We'll come back tomorrow night. Cole squeezed her soft hand. Oomph. We're buying a pair of high-heeled sandals on the way back, so I don't have to dry my feet, Jasmine huffed, refusing to look at him. But the last bit of her anger had vanished. Cole's attentiveness and affection could shatter all her displeasure. Of course, she would never admit it. She was just stubborn. Okay, we'll buy some near my place later, Cole the fox said, letting his true intentions show. What are you planning? Jasmine turned to look at him, her eyes full of suspicion. In the shimmering reflection of the river, her cheeks were already tinged with pink. Buying shoes, what else? Cole said with a look of pure innocence. Liar, what do you want? Jasmine pinched his arm, drawing out the last two words. I want you, boss, Cole whispered, his lips close to her earlobe. I don't want to. I want to go back to my dorm, Jasmine said, shrinking away. The warm breath on her ear was ticklish. But you have a little black lace something in your purse, Cole whispered, his lips brushing her cheek, a wide grin spreading across his face. He'd seen it when he'd grab a napkin for her after they ate. You. I'm going to kill you. Jasmine, flushed with a mix of shame and anger, started pummeling his chest with her small fists. I'll kill you, you jerk. Jasmine's face was a mask of furious embarrassment, her lower lip caught between her teeth. Her small fist packed a punch, thudding against Cole's chest. Ow, ow. I'm dying. Cole groaned theatrically, but his arm held her waist steady, keeping her from slipping in the water. Jasmine pounded on him for a while until she was tired. Then she grabbed his ear and twisted. Tell me, who told you to look at my purse? You asked me to get you a napkin, Cole whined, tilting his head and grimacing to look like he was in pain. But I didn't tell you to look at anything else. Then I must have seen it wrong. You definitely saw it wrong. I didn't bring anything. Right. I saw it wrong. Oomph. Jasmine released his ears, satisfied. Then she stretched out her arms like a demanding little zombie. Carry me. Cole, the simp Chun, immediately crouched down, inviting the victorious Jasmine onto his back. He scooped up her legs, gathering her skirt with them so that it only rode up to her knees, preventing any wardrobe malfunctions. Jasmine weighed around 120 pounds. It was an easy lift for him. The riverbed wasn't slippery, and, as long as he was careful, it was safe to walk. Jasmine settled comfortably on his back, looking down at the vast expanse of water. A strange feeling washed over her, like she was on an adventure, riding on his back. In that moment, she felt like a little girl being protected. The world was dangerous, but she was in a safe zone. She contentedly nibbled on his shoulder and asked, Didn't you say some state officials visited your company today? Tell me about it. Yeah, it was a big shot, here to research student entrepreneurship. It'll probably be on the news. Cole recounted the events of the day. Jasmine took it all in. You can't give Lin Fan any special treatment. You have to act normal, or it'll look like you're sucking up, which would be bad. I know, boss, Cole said. He understood the principle, of course. But since she was the one saying it, he obediently agreed. Jasmine was pleased with his attitude. She played with his ear and asked with concern, "Are you tired, Cole?" "Not at all. I could carry you from one end of the country to the other, as long as I get to see you every day," Cole said sweetly. "Oomph. Sweet talk. I'm not falling for it." Jasmine's heart melted, but her words were still stubborn. She did, however, plant a small kiss on the side of his neck. The evening breeze blew across the river, rustling the leaves on the shore. The sounds of the crowd filled the air. Happiness seemed boundless. One was willing to speak, the other willing to listen. They chatted, enjoying their own quiet world, as if they were in a different dimension from everyone around them. Many envious glances were cast their way. Anyone could see they were a genuinely handsome couple. There were plenty of other couples sitting around, but compared to that one, they all felt like they were missing something. That's right. It was the chemistry, the mutual reliance. "That's so nice. May all lovers end up as siblings," a guy in the distance joked, offering his blessing. "You're brutal," his friend said, giving him a thumbs up. "Huh, Their smiles slowly faded, replaced by looks of dejection. "Forget it. Let's go home. Life is meaningless." After nearly half an hour of being carried on his back in a breeze, Jasmine got down, worried he might be tired. She let him wrap an arm around her waist, and they waded lightly in the water, her holding up her skirt. She grew more and more playful, splashing her feet and sending up sprays of water. Suddenly, she let out a small ouch. She'd stepped on a small, round pebble. "What's wrong, boss?" Cole immediately bent down to see if she was cut. "I stepped on a rock." Jasmine, being thoroughly pampered, lifted her foot petulantly. He took her slender foot in his hands and carefully examined it. The skin wasn't broken, just a small red mark on the sole. He breathed a sigh of relief. "It's okay, just a little red," he said, then playfully tickled the arch of her foot. The tickling made Jasmine let out a soft ah and snatch her foot back, playfully musing his hair. Cole stood up. In the twilight, Jasmine's cheeks were flushed pink, and her eyes held a mock anger. Her small mouth was pouted, like a little girl expressing her displeasure. She was utterly delectable. In that moment, a great wave of emotion washed over him. His gaze grew hot and intense as he slowly leaned in. Jasmine's heart fluttered. She quickly looked around. There were so many people. They were 100 feet away, but they could still see. But Cole's lips were already on hers, his arm wrapped around her waist. She had no choice but to surrender, her face burning. The onlookers stared, some with envy, others with a low murmur of shameless. Cole only took a light taste of her sweetness. The night was long, after all. There was no rush. When their lips parted, Jasmine lightly slapped his shoulder in mock anger. "You'll be the death of me, in front of all these people. Can't you wait until we get home?" "I couldn't help myself. It's your fault for being so beautiful. I'm always mesmerized by you." His shameless words made Jasmine feel both satisfied and proud. A sudden, urgent desire to go home welled up inside her. The last traces of her earlier displeasure had long been blown away by the river breeze. All that remained was a sense of peaceful bliss. They played in the water like children, and it was past 9 o'clock before they contentedly returned to the steps to put on their shoes. He checked her purse and found the tissues were all gone. Cole, the simp Chun, immediately took off his t-shirt, knelt down, lifted her foot, and carefully dried it. Jasmine didn't have time to stop him and could only let him, her eyes filled with happiness. This scene once again left the surrounding crowd speechless. The men seemed to have an epiphany. The women were filled with envy, vowing to expect the same. What they didn't know was that in a few years, a man expressing his love so devotedly would be called simp. A woman would pass gas, and a simp would chase the scent for a mile. If he simped correctly, they would live happily ever after. If he simped incorrectly, he would end up listening to sad songs, only to realize he was the sad song. At 9:30, the Riverwalk was still bustling. Cole and Jasmine made their way through the crowd to their car. On the way home, all the shops were closed, so the high-heeled sandals were never bought. The certain stubborn lady who had insisted she was going back to her dorm found herself, instead, at apartment 2201 of the Golden Bay residences. She reluctantly entered the bathroom. A moment later, Cole, the shameless Chun, used the excuse of bringing her a towel to push open the door. Cole, help! You monster!" The voice grew weaker and weaker. Warm water sprayed happily onto the empty floor, making a splashing sound. Cole's clothes, tossed into a small basin, were being rhythmically ground by his foot, a makeshift laundry cycle. The spacious master bathroom was more than big enough for two. The frosted glass of the bathroom door silhouetted a slender figure, back against the door, legs pointing to the sky. The magic of love is the most captivating force. It's like humanity's plunge into the depths of space, enveloped by an endless, mysterious darkness. That mystery holds an infinite allure, compelling us to rush toward the furthest reaches of the cosmos, to revel in the joy of exploring the unknown. The brave always forge ahead, pressing onward into the void, seeking the secrets of a universe, until the fuel runs out and the rocket is left to drift in the vast darkness. The sweetness lingered from the river walk to the bathroom, and then to the air-conditioned bedroom. A body toned by years of dance was limber and adaptable, able to handle the turbulence of any journey. But summer nights are fleeting, and it isn't just the sun that rises in the morning, but also the vibrant energy of humanity. The brave adventurer embarked on his journey of exploration once more. But he was not alone. His companion looked back at him with pleading eyes, her hands reaching out weakly, trying to make him stop. But it was not enough to shake the adventurer's resolve. Around noon, the two of them, catching up on sleep, were awakened by the ping of a group chat notification. Cole picked up his phone from the nightstand. It was Yvonne tagging him. Headline today, and he himself were on the news. Even Yvonne had a fleeting cameo, along with a few other colleagues. The group chat was exploding. "What is it?" Jasmine murmured, her eyes closed, her face flushed as she snuggled lazily against him. Headline today was on the news. It was a short segment, but we were really on TV, Cole said with a laugh. "That's great. A positive public image is being established. Just remember to be vigilant about content safety," Jasmine mumbled, burrowing deeper into his embrace, her mind still on business. I know, boss," Cole replied to the group chat, letting them know he was present. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, it was past 2 in the afternoon. If it weren't for Jasmine's exhaustion and her concern for his overindulgence, they might have stayed in bed even longer. Cole retrieved the little black item from her purse and helped her get dressed, then carried her to the bathroom to wash up, just as he would with Luna or Serena. After they were ready, Jasmine, her legs still a bit wobbly, straightened the messy bed. The sheets were crumpled from her own grip, the pillows scattered. The memory of what had happened flooded her mind, leaving her both flustered and deeply satisfied. On their way out, as they passed the trash chute, Cole casually tossed a small plastic bag inside. It landed with a soft thud. Inside were several thin latex products. Jasmine's cheeks reddened slightly. She looked straight ahead, pretending not to see. After a quick bite to eat, Cole dropped Jasmine back at Eastwood Tech. On his way back to the office, he got a call from Wendy. She had found a promising location for a new shop. The Tea Alchemist hadn't expanded yet. Cole had been too busy to look for new storefronts. Wendy's initiative was something he had to support. He changed course and drove to the original tea shop to pick her up. They headed to their destination, a storefront on the street just outside the dorms of Eastwood State. It was right next to a campus entrance, an absolutely prime location for a milk tea shop. "You said the current owner also sells milk tea? Why are they going out of business?" Cole asked curiously. He exploited his student part-timers, stiffed them on wages, and pissed off the student government. They organized a boycott. Even though he's right next to the dorms, no students go there. He's only getting by on passers-by, Wendy explained, her voice buzzing with excitement. If this location was a success, she would officially become a supervisor, maybe even the general manager of the Tea Alchemist. She had been grooming a potential store manager just for this day. "He doesn't have a for-lease sign-up, does he?" Cole asked. "No. If he did, this would be a lot harder," Wendy said, shaking her head. Cole pulled up to the curb in front of the shop. The two of them got out and walked inside. He didn't recognize the shop's name. It probably wasn't a chain. The place was empty except for a woman in her 40s standing behind the counter. Cole didn't have time to waste and got straight to the point. The woman couldn't make the decision on her own and called her husband. $30,000 for the business. "Take it or leave it," the man said, his eyes glinting with greed. He was hoping to make a killing on the transfer fee. Cole's eyes narrowed, but he didn't turn and walk away. He countered coolly, "I don't want your equipment or your renovations. 10,000. I can pay you right now." 10,000? Are you kidding me? "No way," the man said, shaking his head so fast it blurred. "You know full well, I'm offering the market rate. Anyone else would lowball you even more. Your equipment is outdated, and every day you wait is another day's rent down the drain," Cole said, standing up. He continued seriously, "I'm sincere about taking over this lease, but I'm not a fool. I'll leave you my number. You have 3 days. If you manage to sell it for more than my offer, then it's like I was never here." This location wasn't like the one near Eastwood University. The space was smaller, less than 300 square feet, and relatively old. 10,000 was essentially just paying for the location. Cole left his number and walked out with Wendy. In the car, Wendy was anxious. Boss, what if he sells it to someone else? I really think this is a great spot. 10,000 is more than fair for that lease. He'll make back his renovation and equipment costs with money to spare. Other people aren't stupid. No one will offer him a higher price, Cole said with certainty. Wendy had no choice but to be patient. Cole dropped her off at the Tea Alchemist and headed back to his own office. As soon as he walked in, Yvonne followed him. Cole, you're famous. She held out her phone, showing him a photo from the news. It was him talking with the governor. She was standing right behind him, half of her body in the shot. She made into the picture, too. Looking sharp, Cole said, glancing at it. By the way, that person from Connect Fear Ventures called again. What did they say? The same thing. They want to invest. And what did you say? I refused. I told them we don't need investment. Good. That's the final word. Headline today isn't accepting any outside capital. Even if we do, it's not the right time, Cole said with a nod. In truth, he had no intention of letting any capital in unless he had a specific need for massive expansion. With 4G not yet rolled out, it wasn't the time for explosive growth. Should we keep spending on advertising? Yvonne asked. Absolutely. We can't lose our ranking in the app stores. The promotions department can start targeting outside of universities. We can start rolling out elevator ads in office buildings. Cole wasn't one to hoard cash. Money was meant to be spent, but TV ads were still out of the question. The ad revenue, trickling in from many sources, had far exceeded his expectations. The development team had already upgraded the advertiser backend. Advertisers could now publish their own promotional content, whether they hired celebrities or Headline Today's own influencers. Headline Today would just take a cut. There were too many businesses, big and small, for them to handle everything. But for clients planning a major investment, the Headline Today strategy team would still take the lead. Whitney had already been on several business trips, leading her team to other cities to close deals with the marketing department. The app's download count had just passed 11 million. The actual number of active users was even higher. Got it. One more thing. The staff in the other city offices has grown. Should we rotate them back here for a few days of training? Or should I go there? Yvonne seemed undecided. What you're really asking me is if I'll approve the expense of bringing them back, right? Cole rolled his eyes at his director of promotions. You knew, so why did you ask? Yvonne shot back. There are so many locations. If I have to go to each one, I'll be exhausted, and it's not efficient. Besides, Director Yang could do a corporate communications training for them at the same time. Approved. Coordinate with your department. Rotate the senior staff back in for 2 or 3 days of training. Organize a dinner. You can apply for the budget in advance. Cole decided on the spot. As they were talking, Fiona, who knocked and came in, her expression tense. Cole, we've been reported. Which department called? Cole had been mentally preparing for this. His expression didn't change. The Rockford office of the FCC, Fiona said. She was confused. Why isn't he worried? How can he be so calm? Oh, the local FCC office, Cole said, breathing a sigh of relief. Okay, I get it. They want to come in, right? The new federal oversight body had only been established in May. Yes, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Fiona said, her voice fraught with worry. Cole, should you talk to the university first? Just in case. You don't come back out. What are you talking about? It's just a conversation. Don't worry, Cole said with an amused smile. Headline Today's content review had been pretty strict lately. Even if someone filed a complaint, the problem couldn't be that big. Cole, I'll go with you, Yvonne said with concern. You have your own work to do. I'll be back before you know it, Cole said, touched by her loyalty. After they left, Lynn Fan came in. Hey, I asked about it for you. It's nothing serious. They don't have any real evidence. They're just saying you're pushing the envelope with edgy content. Okay, thanks, Lynn. But let me correct you. It's not me pushing the envelope, it's the users, Cole explained wearily. Is there a difference? Lynn said, then turned and left. No, I guess there isn't, Cole sighed to himself. That evening, he got a call from Professor Diaz, who told him to just be honest and say what he needed to say. Then messages came in from all 3 of his girls, all of them wanting to go with him. Cole gently refused them all, taking the time to comfort them. Jasmine and Luna were especially worried, thinking it was something serious. Serena, however, seemed to understand the situation better. She said she had asked her uncle, and it was nothing major. The next morning, Cole brought some documents with him and headed to the FCC's Rockford office, located in the city's Information Industry Bureau building. When he arrived, the staff looked at him with surprise. It was the first time they had seen such a young company owner. A security guard directed him to the 3rd floor to a conference room. He sat down and waited quietly. Being here confirmed his suspicion. This was an inquiry and a warning. If it were more serious, the setup would have been different. There would have been 3 or 4 grim-faced officials waiting for him. After about 5 minutes, 2 people walked in. The woman in front was in her late 30s, with shoulder-length hair and glasses. Behind her was a thin, bespectacled young man who looked like a recent graduate. Cole immediately stood up and greeted them with a smile. "Hello, Director Roberts." He had done his homework. She was the director of the local office and also a deputy director of the state's public information department. "Please, Mr. Chun, have a seat," Director Roberts said, her expression neutral as she gestured for him to sit. She didn't seem surprised by his youth. Cole knew they must have already researched him. "Please, Director, just call me Cole," he said humbly. "All right, Cole. Please sit. Let's talk," Director Roberts said, a small smile appearing this time. After Cole sat down, she began. According to complaints from internet users regarding vulgar content and clickbait headlines on the Headline Today website, and in accordance with relevant internet management regulations. She took a few sheets of paper from the young man beside her and handed them to Cole. He took them and saw they were examples cited by the complainant, screenshots of entire web pages. There were several user-posted dirty jokes and borderline obscene images. The content was so bold that even Cole was taken aback. The review department had been so strict lately, and with the help of the filtering system, this kind of thing shouldn't have slipped through. It was highly likely the complainant had prepared this material in advance. There are also various examples of sensationalist, clickbait-style headlines. The issues weren't huge, but in the hands of someone with an agenda, they could be spun into a major problem. Cole listened dutifully as Director Roberts explained the relevant regulations. Then he presented the documents he had prepared, explaining the measures Headline Today had recently implemented to combat sexually suggestive and vulgar content, and how many accounts they had disciplined. He followed this with a sincere self-criticism, promising to strictly adhere to the rules and strengthen their oversight. But what he didn't expect was to still be hit with a 24-hour rectification period. The website didn't have to be shut down, but couldn't display any new content for a day while they conducted a self-audit and reported their findings. Cole didn't resist. Resistance was futile and counterproductive. No matter who was trying to screw him over, cooperation with the FCC was mandatory. As long as he strengthened his management practices going forward, they wouldn't have a legitimate reason to come after him. After returning to the company, Cole immediately notified Wyatt to suspend the news feed. Wyatt was shocked but complied. The homepage of Headline Today instantly went blank, replaced by a single line of large text. Effective immediately, Headline Today is conducting a 24-hour self-audit of vulgar content. We apologize for any inconvenience. The internet exploded with rumors. On message boards and university forums, people were saying Headline Today had been shut down for breaking the law. Regular users were mostly just spectators, but there were plenty who celebrated, leading the charge on the forums. The aspiring influencers, however, were starting to panic. The last thing they wanted was for Headline Today to be shut down. Cole told his company to remain silent and to use their internal admin privileges to filter for vulgar content. Bans were issued, ranging from 1 month to 6 months. His 3 girls came to the office, but Cole sent Serena and Luna back to school. They had to prepare for exams. That was the priority. Cole himself had to take his exams in the next 2 days. He hadn't studied a thing. He was ready to be humiliated. In a women's dorm at the Eastwood Tech Arts building. "I told you to switch to Twitter, but you wouldn't listen," a roommate said, feigning sympathy for Amy. "It's only for 24 hours. Don't worry about it," Amy replied. She knew what her roommate was really thinking, but didn't have the energy to call her out on it. "I bet it'll be an infinite number of 24-hour periods. It's all over the internet. Pundits are already analyzing it. They're saying it'll be hard for the site to ever come back online," the roommate said, shaking her head. "Why can't you ever listen to advice? Now what? All those followers are useless. All that effort for nothing." Despite her sorrowful tone, she felt a sliver of satisfaction. Finally, things are back to normal. Roommates should share in each other's misery. After all, Amy was relatively calm, but many other influencers were losing their minds, filled with anxiety. Only Preston didn't seem to care. The discussion was most intense at Eastwood University. Headline Today had just been on TV, and now this. It seemed the company was doomed after all. That afternoon, Cole received a call from Professor Diaz, who told him to keep his spirits up. Cole, of course, expressed his gratitude. He already had a better plan. That night, he didn't go anywhere. He stayed in his dorm room. Overnight, public opinion raged. On 10-Degree Bar and various university forums, the rumors grew wilder. Some even claimed that the owner of Headline Today had been arrested. Cole read it all with a grin. He didn't know who was behind the attack, but this was the first time, and it would be the last. The next day, Everyone was waiting for the 24-hour mark to see if Headline Today would be unbanned. But the employees discovered that Cole wasn't even at the office. When the final second of the 24 hours had passed, and even 5 minutes after that, the Headline Today website was still blank. The internet exploded. On a popular blog, a post titled "The Fall of the Internet's Newest Gorilla" went viral. The author was Clayton Vance, a big name with a laundry list of credentials. MBA from Wharton, vice president of the Boston Private Enterprise Council, guest contributor for TechCrunch, and so on. If a friend hadn't mentioned it, Vance wrote, I would never have even heard of a site called Headline Today. After a brief look, I've identified two key characteristics: a meteoric rise and a polarizing, guerrilla-style approach to information delivery. To put it bluntly, they track user data and feed you what you want to see, a simple way to win over users. It's a fine method, I suppose, but it raises an obvious question. Doesn't this violate user privacy? The FCC's intervention seems to have answered that. It's no surprise that Headline Today has been taken down. I hear the founder is a freshman in college. A classic case of a bull in a china shop, wildly overestimating his own abilities. The post racked up over 400,000 likes, but the comments section told a different story. You want to take on Google News and Yahoo with an information-on-demand model? The kid's got balls of steel. He's got my last name. I have to admit, he's got guts. When I was a freshman, I spent half a semester crying over my high school girlfriend. This guy was already launching a startup. Too bad he picked the wrong fight. It just clickbait trash. The content is just random people's boring daily lives. What's the point? He just ripped off the big portal sites and added a few of his own ideas. What kind of founder is that? Pathetic. It's all lowbrow garbage. Anyone with half a brain can't stand to look at it. Posts like these were everywhere. Self-proclaimed experts and pundits crawled out of the woodwork to cash in on the controversy, all eager to display their professional authority. It was the same story on Twitter. Academics, industry professionals, and commentators from the business and IT sectors all weighed in. 80% of the opinions were negative. The remaining 20% offered a different take, arguing that Headline Today was an interesting experiment, a platform that gave ordinary people a place to share their lives and earn a little extra income. But without fail, every one of these dissenting articles was buried under an avalanche of rebuttals. Suddenly, all the businesses that had bought ad space on Headline Today started to panic. They flooded the customer service lines, demanding to know what was going on. Some were already asking for refunds. On Yvonne's orders, the support team stalled them all. Back in Cole's dorm at Eastwood University, his roommates were fuming. Preston, Frank, and Javier were hammering out angry comments under one of Vance's articles. What's wrong with being lowbrow? Are you descended from royalty or something? So high and mighty. Didn't your own Wikipedia page say you came from a farming family? You sure weren't shy about playing the victim card back then. 90% of the country is ordinary people. We like it, so what's it to you? It's better than being a sanctimonious, hypocritical asshole like you. Go F. #% at you and at yourself. You piece of #% #at. A moment later, all three of their accounts were suspended. Frank slammed his hand on his desk in frustration. All they could do now was wait and see what Cole had up his sleeve. Over at the Student Venture Lab, the mood was tense. Wyatt, you gotta ask Mr. Chun what's going on. He's gone completely silent. What are we supposed to do? One of the developers asked, his voice shaking. He'd only been there for 2 months, but the pay was great, and he was working hard to get his own project team. And now this. Stay calm, Wyatt said, his voice steady. If there was a real problem, Cole would have told us. The fact that he hasn't said anything means he has a reason. Cole had specifically told him not to release any statements. Let them have their moment, he'd said. Let them get cocky. Then we bring the hammer down. Wyatt trusted Cole. In all the time he'd known him, Cole had never made a foolish move, except, perhaps, when it came to his girlfriends. Through his work on Headline Today, Wyatt had developed a deep understanding of smart engine development. He'd even caught the eye of a professor emeritus at Eastwood, a fellow at the National Academy of Engineering, who had taken him on as his sole research student for a project on big data analytics. Wyatt's heart and soul were in Headline Today. No one was more invested in its survival. The core team, Wyatt, Yvonne, and Fiona, trusted Cole completely. Seeing their bosses remain calm, the rest of the staff managed to settle their nerves. Still, anxiety rippled through Headline Today's satellite offices in Boston, Austin, and Atlanta. Yvonne sent out a memo to all the regional managers, instructing them to keep their team's morale up. His 3 girls, however, were terrified. They couldn't reach him. His phone went straight to voicemail. They were sick with worry that something terrible had happened. During her lunch break, Serena finally broke down and called her uncle, a senior political advisor in D. See, she hated to bother him. He was a man wholly dedicated to his work, with no time for personal drama, and she was afraid he'd scold her. But she was out of ideas. To her relief, he didn't sound angry. He didn't give her a clear answer. His words were as guarded and official as ever, but he did mention that there were no major federal actions pending against any internet companies. That was enough. It almost certainly meant Headline Today was safe. Serena quickly sent the update to their private group chat. Jasmine finally felt a knot of tension release in her chest. She didn't know where Serena got her D.C. intel, but she knew the girl would never lie. Luna didn't understand the politics, but she didn't need to. All that mattered was that Cole was okay. On the 8th floor of the gallery's office tower, in Vanessa Fan's office. Go on, call him. I'm waiting, Lynn said, perched stiffly on the sofa, urging her mother to make the call. I'm dialing, aren't I? What's the rush? I told you. He'll be fine, Vanessa said with a sigh. She was also confused about why the site hadn't been unbanned yet. According to her sources, there shouldn't have been a problem. The call connected. Dad, do you have a minute to talk? Vanessa asked directly. Of course, Nessa. What is it? Her father's warm voice came through the line. It's Headline Today. It's still blocked. It's been over 24 hours now. We don't know what's going on, and Lynn is worried sick. I can have my secretary ask around. As long as the company itself hasn't done anything wrong, I'm sure it's fine. After they hung up, another half hour passed before the phone rang again. Vanessa snatched it up. I haven't heard anything about it being shut down permanently, her father said. I can't interfere with an FCC matter, but my people say it's fine. Okay, Dad. Thanks for your help. Vanessa shot her daughter a reassuring look and handed her the phone, a silent prompt to say a few words to her grandfather. Lynn took it. Grandpa, it's me. Oh, Lynn, how about you come over for dinner this weekend? The voice on the other end softened instantly. And listen, don't you worry about Headline Today. I'm telling you it's fine. That young man must have his own reasons for what's happening. You just stay out of it. I'll sleep in on Saturday and come over after, she said. Good, good. Grandpa will be waiting for you. The storm of public opinion had already swept across Eastwood University, dividing the student body into 3 camps. A small minority gloated, made up of jealous students and those who held a grudge against Cole. Cora and Julia were prime examples, leaving a trail of anonymous posts mocking Cole across the campus forums. The middle camp, which included people like Holly the student journalist, took a wait-and-see approach. But the vast majority hoped Headline Today would pull through. The university administration, however, remained silent, acting as if nothing was happening. Someone even went to Professor Diaz to ask if they could apply to rent Headline Today's soon-to-be vacant office in the Venture Lab. She refused them flatly, offering no explanation. At Eastwood Tech, the news that Jasmine was Headline Today's COO had slowly leaked out. She had taken a couple of the girls from her program for a photo shoot with the company, and a secret like that was impossible to keep. The guys she had rejected were having a field day, eagerly waiting to watch Eastwood Tech's #1 beauty fall from grace. In Boston, at the headquarters of Connect Sphere Ventures, the office was enormous, occupying the entire floor of a skyscraper. This wasn't your doing, was it? A man asked. He stood at a floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the city below. He was 40 but looked no older than 35, dressed in a designer deep purple dress shirt, the picture of a corporate elite. I can't be bothered with that kind of petty stuff, his deputy replied, gesturing vaguely in a southerly direction. It was probably them. They have a history of it. Ken Clark, the man at the window, knew who he meant. Headline Today is no threat to us, he said. He's going for the mass market. We're targeting the elite. And since 80% of the wealth is in the hands of the elite, our main rival is still Twitter. It's a shame he didn't take our investment offer, the deputy said with a laugh. We could have used him as a bulldog. Now he's just gone. Not necessarily, Ken said, a thoughtful look in his eyes. The FCC still hasn't issued an official statement. He was curious about this kid, 19 years old, and he'd launched a surprise attack on the entire industry. Everyone knew about smart recommendation algorithms, but no one had dared to build a business around them. It was too time-consuming, too labor-intensive, and too expensive. The shareholders, hungry for dividends, would never approve it. Google was already investing heavily in AI, but with little to show for it. They had recently acquired a mobile assistant company to expand their footprint on mobile devices, but it was mostly a performance to give shareholders the illusion that Google was seizing the initiative in the wireless space, while also competing with Apple Siri. Ken didn't dwell on Headline Today. Whether it survived or failed was insignificant. An internet product with no venture capital backing was doomed to be a flash in the pan, even if it dodged this bullet. The clock ticked past 2 in the afternoon. Cole Chun, the founder of Headline Today, was still a ghost. The consensus online and on campus was that he was either in custody or in hiding, too ashamed to show his face. Just as a real sense of panic began to set in among the staff at the gallery office, the sound of several pairs of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Then, they heard their boss's voice at the door. "Welcome, esteemed officials from the FCC, to Headline Today." At that exact moment, employees noticed that the website was back online, fully functional. Cole stood at the entrance, making a welcoming gesture. A woman in her 30s with short hair and glasses walked in, followed by 4 or 5 others. Yvonne was the quickest on the uptake. She shot to her feet and shouted, "A warm welcome to the leaders from the FCC, here to guide our work." She immediately started clapping. Fiona and Whitney were a beat behind, but they caught on fast, joining the applause and echoing, "Welcome, welcome." The rest of the staff followed suit, and the office filled with a thunderous ovation. Director Roberts, the woman with glasses, raised a hand to quiet the room, a smile on her face. "Please, carry on with your work. I'm just here to take a quick look and understand this new model of internet experience." "You're Mr. Chun here insisted I come. Haha." "Everyone," Cole announced, seizing the moment, "this is Director Roberts from our city's FCC office." Yvonne bustled over, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Director Roberts, it's a pleasure to meet you. Let me show you what we do here." A woman was the perfect choice to host another woman. Cole gave his director a silent thumbs up. "Yes, thank you." The director agreed readily. The group of 6 began their tour of the company, with Cole following quietly behind, a look of humble deference on his face. Lin Fan glanced up at her boss several times. The man was a fox. He'd actually invited them here himself. It was a move of pure political genius, demonstrating that Headline Today had nothing to hide, was actively cooperating, and was deferential to regulatory guidance. After the tour of the gallery office, Cole and Yvonne led the FCC officials to the development department at the Eastwood Venture Lab. This was the critical part of the visit, proving the transparency of Headline Today's back-end systems. Wyatt gave a presentation for Director Roberts and her team, detailing the platform's protocols for detecting and blocking obscene and vulgar content. The officials nodded in approval. Finally, Cole drove Director Roberts and her colleagues back to their office, as they only had one official vehicle. He had offered to take them to dinner, but the director had politely but firmly refused. The internet was in shock. Headline Today was back, and the very first article, pinned to the top of the homepage, was "Rockford FCC Office Visits Headline Today to Guide and Collaborate on Industry Standards." In an instant, the article's click count soared into the millions. The influencers who made their living on the platform cheered. They scrambled to publish new content, firing back at all the snide, gloating commentary. That evening, the so-called experts and pundits quietly deleted their posts. The public reversal was too humiliating to bear. Cole took the time to properly soothe his 3 worried girls. He had kept everyone in the dark except for Wyatt and Professor Diaz. The tide of public opinion had turned. His friends were overjoyed. His enemies were in agony. Those who had been waiting to see him fail were bitterly disappointed. The next morning, the FCC's official website posted a new notice. The FCC conducted a site visit and investigation of Headline Today, listening to a report from its founder, Cole Chun, on the company's development and its efforts to combat obscene content and maintain a clean online environment. This sparked another massive wave of discussion online. In Boston, Ken Clark of Connect Sphere Ventures read the news and understood. Headline Today had survived. As long as they maintained strict self-regulation from now on, it would be difficult to take them down. Still, he didn't give them much thought. If they were open to investment, great. If not, it was their own short-sightedness, not knowing how to leverage power to create more power. Then, Eastwood University posted an announcement on its official website. Headline Today has been selected as one of the top 10 outstanding student enterprises of 2011. Its founder, Cole Chun, is a freshman in the School of Economics Finance Department. He first founded the Tea Alchemist, then Headline Today, providing excellent part-time job opportunities for Eastwood students. Combined, his 2 companies have created 206 jobs, 178 of which are held by Eastwood students. Not only is Mr. Chun a brave innovator, but he is also diligent in fulfilling his social responsibilities, and he has not fallen behind in his studies. When Cole read that last part, his face turned red. My studies. Why did they have to bring that up? Seriously, his final exams were tomorrow, and he knew absolutely nothing. Knowledge was the one thing you couldn't fake. You either knew it or you really didn't. Still, he figured the university would probably cut him some slack. If worst came to worst, he could always make a generous donation later. The owner of a company couldn't have a reputation as the king of failing classes. He'd have to talk to Professor Diaz about this. Maybe she could help. After a day and a night of drama, everyone knew the boss of Headline Today was a finance student named Cole Chun. The content that was shared online shocked people. Holy crap, the guy who created Headline Today was only a freshman. One blogger on Twitter even dedicated a long thread to Cole's entrepreneurial history. The number of Google searches for Cole Chun approached 2 million. And soon enough, users had created and fleshed out a Wikipedia entry for him, complete with a slightly awkward-looking ID photo they dug up from God knows where. From that day on, Cole Chun had truly entered the public eye. Back in his finance class at Eastwood, his classmates were gobbling up the biggest piece of gossip of the year. Many of them were just now realizing that Cole Chun, the guy who frequently skipped class, was the founder of Headline Today. Cora hid in her dorm room, nursing her broken heart. She couldn't delete the comments she'd made mocking Cole on the forums fast enough, but it was too late. Someone had already screenshotted them and posted them on Headline Today. She couldn't remember how many times she had kicked herself with regret. In the media school, Julia was in a similar state of misery. If only she hadn't run her mouth on those forums. She had plenty of guys on the hook, but not a single one could hold a candle to Cole. They weren't even in the same league. He was handsome, wealthy, and, most importantly, a first-generation success. His fortune was entirely his own. To be his girlfriend, the amount of wealth she could enjoy was unimaginable. At Eastwood Tech, Amy, from the arts program, had emerged as a winner. The roommate who used to taunt her had gone completely silent. An acting agency had even reached out to her, but she'd politely declined. Amy knew her personality was a perfect fit for Headline Today. As long as the platform kept growing, her fame could potentially surpass that of traditional celebrities. And best of all, she would be free with no strings attached. She had heard all about the dark side of the entertainment industry. Now that she had a path with Headline Today, and it was going so well, there was no need to gamble on something else. Amy flopped onto her pillow, her mind racing. A guy like Mr. Chun. He was the ultimate prize for any girl. A shame he was already taken. At first, she hadn't wanted to seem too eager, too opportunistic. Over time, she learned he was in a relationship and gave up the idea. But now, the thought was bubbling up again. If she put up a fight, could she win? She started calculating her odds. She was good-looking, had a great body, and her grades weren't bad. It wasn't impossible. Maybe she should give it a try. Plenty of other girls were having the same thought. Their goal, however, was more direct: to become the other half of the Headline Today empire. The platform's newfound fame served as a massive, free advertising campaign. App downloads surged, breaking 15 million. Advertisers, now reassured, rushed to top up their accounts. Major brands even began reaching out to discuss partnerships. Yvonne was so busy she barely had time to breathe. Jasmine was also working full-time at the office, having established a new market intelligence department to gather information on companies and their products, especially potential brand partners. This was to ensure the business development team wouldn't be caught off guard during negotiations. The department was only responsible for collection. The analysis was left to the business team. On July 8th, the last exam was over. Cole didn't need to wait for his grades. He knew he was the undisputed king of failing. Even his 3 roommates were confident they had passed. Just as he stepped out of the exam building, a sweet voice called out, "Hi, Cole." A girl ran up behind him. He didn't recognize her. She didn't seem to be from the finance department. "Hi, can I help you? My name is Crystal. Can I add you on Facebook?" she asked. She had a great figure, a pretty face, and a guileless smile. But she was a far cry from his 3 girls. "Oh, sorry," Cole said, his face a mask of apology. "My account got hacked. I still haven't gotten it back yet." He had no intention of giving out his contact info. The balance between his 3 girls was already a delicate illusion. Another outside force would shatter it instantly. Jasmine would get genuinely angry, and there'd be no coming back from that. The other 2 would think he was just a natural-born player. It would all be over. "Oh, I see," Crystal said, a flash of disappointment and embarrassment in her eyes. But she brightened instantly. "Well, can I have your number then?" Passing students were watching them, their expressions curious. Crystal looked at him expectantly. With so many people around, surely he wouldn't refuse? "Sorry, I lost my phone. Haven't gotten a new SIM card yet," Cole lied without batting an eye, managing to look genuinely apologetic. If his number leaked, his phone would never stop ringing. A call or text in the middle of the night would definitely piss off his girls. Jasmine might even cut off his supply. Harassment was a small problem. Starvation was a major one. The students watching them had a single word written in their eyes: legend. As expected of the founder of Headline Today, he actually had the guts to turn down a beautiful woman. We must support this man. Otherwise, our own hearts will break. Under the gaze of dozens of pairs of admiring eyes, Cole walked away calmly. But on the way to the parking lot, he was stopped no less than 8 times. Finally, a group of 5 girls cornered him, physically blocking his path. The girls he'd already turned down saw their chance and rushed over to join the blockade. Cole was known for being easygoing, and they were all peers, so none of them were intimidated. Girls tall and short, thin and curvy, with short legs and long legs. His 3 roommates ran over to try and rescue him, but the girls shoved them aside. Preston stood there, his hair a mess in the breeze, a look of profound sorrow in his eyes. He, a famous campus influencer, had been utterly ignored. Frank, unwilling to give up, tried to squeeze through. "Hey everyone, Cole has things to do. Please don't block his way. If you have a problem, take it up with me." 2 of the girls simply lifted him up and set him aside. "This doesn't concern you. Stay put." Now there were 2 of them looking bewildered in the wind. Javier chose to remain a spectator. He was in a relationship now. He had to maintain his chastity. Ladies, I swear my Facebook was hacked, and I lost my phone. If I'm lying, may I be struck by lightning." Cole shouted, holding up his hands. He could say it with a clear conscience. He'd left his phone in the car during the exam. "We don't believe you. You have to remember your own number." "Yeah, what? Are you too good for us?" "Cole, we're classmates, right? This is so hurtful. It's the first time I've ever asked a guy for his number." "Cole Chun, I'm not applying to be your friend. I'm applying to be your girlfriend." The moment the words left her mouth, the scene fell silent. 11 pairs of eyes like spotlights swiveled to the girl who had spoken. But the girl, far from being timid, puffed out her small chest and said proudly, "What? Is that not allowed?" The other girls looked at each other, none of them brave enough to say the same. Just as they were about to mock her, a clear voice cut through the air from nearby. "No." 10 girls turned in unison to see who the new challenger was. Great, let them fight it out. But when they saw who it was, their spirits sank. The newcomer was dressed simply, a white button-down shirt over a t-shirt, paired with jeans. But every other aspect of her was dazzling. Fair skin, beautiful face, long legs, and a tall, slender figure. The collar of her shirt was stretched taut over her ample chest. The short-haired girl who had just been puffing out her chest instantly deflated. There was no comparison. Luna looked at Cole, her tough demeanor from a moment ago melting into a sweet smile. "Brother, I finished my exam too." She had been in an exam room just across the way. They had arranged to meet here afterward and head to the office together. "Great, let's get back to the company then," Cole said with a grin. Her timing was perfect. A woman's problem was best handled by another woman. Given his status, he couldn't be too harsh without someone twisting his words. Luna slowly squeezed her way through the crowd of girls. She was strong, but she didn't use much force. In front of everyone, she took out her own phone and, smiling at the girls around her, said, "You all wanted to add him on Facebook and get his number, right? His phone is right here. Do you want to add him?" The girls stared at each other, all of them silent. It was obvious to everyone that the phone wasn't Cole's. This big-chested girl was staking her claim. 2 of them looked shocked, as if they recognized who she was. Of course, Luna knew they wouldn't add her. She didn't press the issue, just maintained her smile. "Even if you get a new phone, it will be with me or his executive assistant. Let me be direct. No one is getting his personal number except for Headline Today employees and business partners. He no longer belongs to himself. He belongs to all the employees and users of Headline Today. It's not that he doesn't want to add you. It's that the entire company won't allow it. Do you understand?" Luna's face had shed its usual gentle shyness. Her smile was generous and poised, her tone firm but not arrogant. "If you're really that determined, then I suggest you apply for a job at Headline Today. Once you're an employee, you can have his contact info." After hearing this, the girls were still silent, completely at a loss for how to respond. She wasn't fighting them over a boy. She was hitting them with a for the greater good combination punch. How were they supposed to counter that? Keep pestering him? She'd already told them how they could get his number. But becoming an employee wasn't what they wanted. They want to be a co-owner of Headline Today, or at least get something out of it. This Cole Chun might not be the richest man in the world, but he was definitely the youngest among the successful ones. A first-generation mogul. The return on investment was just too high. So high that it made them forget they were top students at a prestigious university themselves. To struggle on your own, or to win by lying down. Who in their right mind would choose the former? Most of them had experienced so-called love before. They knew what they really wanted. The boy in front of them had it, and his good looks were just the cherry on top. Then a voice cut in. "I'll be there to interview as soon as I'm back from summer break. I can work part-time as a sophomore." The girls turned to see who had spoken. It was a short-haired girl who had puffed out her chest. A defiant fire burned in her eyes. The girls gathered there all had some degree of confidence in their looks, and she was no exception. While she felt a bit inferior to the big-chested girl in front of her, she wasn't without her own strengths. 3 years of yoga hadn't been for nothing. Shouldn't she fight for a future? Besides, she was a broadcasting major. She was attractive, well-spoken, and had a good figure. Did she not have a fighting chance? Maybe Cole would end up liking her type. Fine, Luna said with a disarming smile. Headline today will be waiting for you. She wasn't worried in the slightest. If the girl actually showed up, she'd just hand her over to Yvonne or Whitney. If she was talented, they'd use her. No big deal. As for the competition, it didn't even cross her mind. As long as Cole didn't make the first move, no one else stood chance. And if he did, no amount of defense would matter. In a university district with nearly 1 million students, you'd find all sorts of people. And that didn't even include the professional from off-campus, whose game was probably on a whole other level. Luna knew the ones she really had to watch out for were the femme fatale, the ones who would stop at nothing. Cole gave the little vixen a smile of approval. That's right, he affirmed. Headline today welcomes anyone who wants to join our team, provided they pass the interview. Lou, let's go. He looked around at the other girls and smiled. Thank you all for the attention. As our CFO said, I really don't have time for a social life right now. You all know things have been crazy at the company lately. I'm truly sorry, and I hope you can understand. Thank you. He finished by pressing his palms together and giving them a small bow, playing the part of the gracious gentleman to the hilt. It cost him nothing to be polite and avoid making enemies. But inside, he sighed. If it weren't for Headline today, he'd be nothing. These girls had lofty ambitions. Good looks and deep feelings wouldn't be enough to hold them. As the old saying goes, a heartfelt confession is no match for a healthy bank account. The girls parted, watching as Cole and Luna walked toward the parking lot. A moment later, an Audi A8 pulled out and turned onto the main road. Ugh, if only I'd met him sooner, one girl sighed. Too late now. Who was that girl? What's her major? Luna, I'm from the accounting department. She used to be on Face Power, but then she disappeared. So what if she has big boobs? You can just get implants. Hers are probably fake anyway. They're real. I'm in the same department as her. All the girls know about the full moon of Eastwood. Holy crap. And it's a lost cause. The girls didn't look down on each other. Their pride was reserved for specific targets. They dispersed, each one filled with regret. Only the short-haired girl remained, her eyes fixed on the direction the car had gone, a burning determination in her gaze. On the way to the office, Cole got a call from an unknown number. It was the owner of the spicy noodle and hot pot shop near Eastwood Tech. They'd agreed to the $8,000 offer for the business assets, and he could take the equipment. Cole agreed. The old equipment was useless to him anyway. Selling it for scrap would just be a waste of time. He made a detour to the Tea Alchemist to pick up Wendy, then swung by the gallery to grab a lease agreement. He wanted to walk Wendy through the process once so she could handle it herself in the future. Everything went smoothly. The landlord was an older woman who was financially comfortable and receiving a pension. Cole didn't have to lift a finger. Luna and Wendy handled the signing perfectly. The CFO transferred the funds on the spot. Cole gave Wendy the contact number for Mr. Huang, the contractor, and patted her on the shoulder. Starting today, you are the general manager of the Tea Alchemist Group. You can start looking for an office. Once you find one, contact Director Yang, and she'll assign you an administrative manager. The accounting will still be handled by Headline today, for now, but we'll get you a train account later. As for a supervisor, you pick. If Megan wants it, give it to her. We take care of our senior employees. She'll definitely want it, Wendy blurted out, thrilled. She just broke up with her boyfriend and swore off men to throw herself into work. Huh? They broke up again? Well, that's fine. Focusing on work is a good thing, Cole said, surprised. Luna looked surprised, too. On the way back, Cole shared the news in his private chat with the girls from his hometown. If one knew, they all had to know. Jasmine quickly added her best friend, Alex, to the main Tea Alchemist group chat, telling her it was time to get to work and that she would help her get up to speed. It was now Alex's job to draft a new employment contract for the Tea Alchemist, separate from Headline today's. Everyone had a job to do. Back at the original Tea Alchemist shop, just before Wendy got out of the car, the newly flushed Cole added a final instruction. Your mission is to open new stores and hire good people. I want the Tea Alchemist to expand rapidly. At least 5 more stores by the end of the year. The more, the better. Do you understand what I mean? Absolutely, Mr. Chun. I'm going to open a shop in every busy district in this city, Wendy said, full of confidence, waving her arms. Then, as if remembering something, she said seriously, but Mr. Chun, you have to treat me well. Otherwise, my classmates who made it big will laugh at me. Don't worry, Cole said with a smile. However successful the tea alchemist becomes, that's how successful you'll be. A well-run tea shop chain could be very profitable. He had no intention of shortchanging the loudmouthed, but capable Wendy. Just as Cole and his little vixen got back to the gallery, Lynn Fan followed them into the office. She was always the trendiest person in the company, wearing outrageously large earrings and ripped denim shorts. Her hairstyle changed daily. Today, it was 2 small pigtails, making her look like a fashionable farm girl. My mom wants to see you. She said she has something to discuss. Okay, I'll go over in a bit once I'm done here, Cole nodded. Having delivered the message, Lynn returned to her desk. Cole stood up and called out from his doorway. Lou, come to my office for a second. We need to discuss optimizing the reimbursement process. Okay, Luna replied, biting her lower lip as she stared at her phone screen. When she stood up, her face was already flushed. There was no process to optimize. Her heart was pounding like a drum as she walked into Cole's office, clutching her phone. She closed the door and, like a thief, gently locked it. Brother, look what someone posted, she said, her face crimson as she approached him. He pulled her down, so she was sitting sideways on his lap. Posted what? Cole asked, looking at the phone screen with a perfectly straight face. This, Luna pointed at a post on Headline Today. Shocking, Eastwood's top beauty is Headline Today's CFO. The content read, Luna, and from the accounting department, has been confirmed as the CFO of Headline Today, acknowledged by founder Cole Chun himself. Who posted this? Cole blinked. The description was so apt. He hoped it wasn't a guy. That wouldn't do. He checked the poster's profile. It was a girl. Luna wrapped her arms around Cole's neck without a word. The headline was so embarrassing. How could they say that about her? Cole used his admin privileges to double-check. It was indeed a girl. Only then did he relax. He deleted the micro-post and set the more descriptive words in the comments as filtered terms. They couldn't appear together, not even with a word in between. They are deleted, and it can't be posted again, Cole said with a grin. He leaned in and playfully sucked on her soft cheek, making a loud smack sound. Even after all this time being intimate, Luna was still mortified. Her brother always loved doing that. It was so good. I don't like that, she whispered. I don't like it either. But why do they call you that? I'm very curious. Brother. Luna pressed her lips together, a blush spreading rapidly across her fair face and neck. A moment later, Cole whispered in her ear, Babe, that, Before he could finish, there was a sharp knock on the door. It startled Luna, who leaped off his lap like a frightened rabbit, frantically straightening her clothes. Mr. Chun, are you done yet? Lynn called from outside. Oh, yeah, I'm coming right now, Cole said, annoyed but helpless. Lynn was a kid with zero emotional intelligence. Watching Luna gasp for air, her face flushed, Cole found it incredibly amusing. He couldn't resist walking over and stealing a light taste of her fruity lips. So sweet. Go sit at my desk and rest for a bit, he said, patting her. Okay, Luna whispered, plopping down in his chair and hiding her face behind the computer monitor. She stretched her neck to watch his retreating back, her eyes full of sweetness and love. It wasn't exactly professional to do this in the office, but she couldn't bear to refuse any of his whims. She didn't want to refuse. She loved the feeling of being close to him. It filled her with a sense of happiness and security. Cole walked out of his office, and under Lynn Fan's strange gaze, he calmly left the company floor. The moment he stepped into the elevator, Lynn followed him in. Cole rolled his eyes. This girl. Seriously, what did she take him for? He arrived on the 8th floor. Vanessa Fan was sitting on the sofa, looking at her phone. Ms. Fan, Cole greeted her, taking a seat in the chair across from her. Today, Vanessa was wearing a white skirt suit with nude stockings, exuding a mature, professional sexiness. Cole, I was thinking of expanding Caspian Grill to other cities. What do you think? Vanessa looked up at him, her eyes flicking to her daughter, standing by the door, pretending to admire her freshly painted nails. Vanessa sighed. She knew exactly what her daughter was doing, and it annoyed her. She frowned. Lynn, don't you have work to do? I do. I'll go in a minute. You two talk, don't mind me. Lynn was determined not to leave. It's fine, Ms. Fan, Cole said, unconcerned. Lynn's been sitting all day. It's good for her to walk around. Let her stare. He wasn't interested in that. Although he had to admit Ms. Fan must have been a real beauty when she was younger. You spoil her too. She's your employee. You should manage her. Vanessa sighed, feeling a little indebted to Cole. He was a force of nature, and he had managed to keep her daughter interested in work without making it feel like he was sucking up to her. Only Cole could have pulled that off. Ms. Fan, to be honest, buffet restaurants are a big investment, and the returns aren't that high, Cole said, thinking about the future changes in the restaurant market. People would have too many choices. Food delivery would allow most people to stay home. Mall traffic wouldn't be as high as it was now, only spiking on weekends. Breaking even would be considered a success. Are you saying this is it for Caspian Grill? Vanessa was a little surprised. She thought Cole would support her in building a national chain. Let me put it this way. Cole organized his thoughts and explained the potential future shifts. Vanessa listened, stunned, elegantly crossing and uncrossing her shapely legs. Even Lynn, by the door, forgot about her nails. Cole, then what do you suggest I do? The eye care lamp sales are decent, and I'm trying to get the statewide distribution rights, but it's not easy to push for, and I don't know how long it will take, Vanessa said with a frown, the picture of a woman with too much money and nowhere to spend it. Ms. Fan, could you apply for the necessary licenses for digital media, broadcasting, and television program production? As he spoke, Cole forced himself to look into Vanessa's eyes, trying to avoid his gaze drifting down to her lustrous, silk-clad legs. A television program license? Vanessa thought she had misheard. Her legs naturally crossed again, a faint blush appearing on her face. Yes, I want to create a video streaming website, but I can't get those licenses on my own, Cole confirmed with a nod. If you can handle that, Ms. Fan, why don't we do it together? He had been thinking about this for days. With his own connections, it was impossible. The mogul who had done it in his past life had acquired a company just to get the licenses, and that was with venture capital funding. Cole didn't want to take any VC money, at least not yet. Vanessa was single, had only one daughter who already worked for him. She was the perfect partner. The video site wouldn't be directly tied to Headline Today, so it wouldn't affect anything. Like Netflix or Hulu? Vanessa asked, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Not exactly. The video site will be linked to Headline Today, and they'll share content and resources. Cole laid out his vision. Bringing Vanessa in was his only chance if he wanted to avoid taking on venture capital. Maybe, in the distant future, when Headline Today was a giant, he could do it himself. But he didn't have time to wait. He planned to produce short-form web dramas and desperately needed those licenses. It was 2011, the year of Game of Thrones. If he produced a few binge-worthy dramas about feuding CEOs and heiresses, he was sure he could capture the hearts of housewives across the country. He also planned for the video site to serve as a temporary substitute for what would become TikTok's long-form video function, while also acting as a platform for licensed movies and shows. So, how much would I need to invest? Vanessa was getting interested. $30 million, Cole said, holding up 3 fingers. For 10%. Only 10%. Vanessa's eyes widened in disbelief. 10% is a lot, Ms. Fan. Headline Today's creators will be able to post long-form videos, attracting a bigger audience and better, more integrated advertising. Plus, with the short-form dramas I've planned, the site will generate massive traffic. All you have to do is get the licenses. I'll handle everything else. You just sit back and collect the profits. Short dramas? Vanessa wasn't familiar with the concept. She only knew about traditional sitcoms. Right. Domineering CEOs, rich heiresses. You can ask Lynn. She's an expert now. It's that cringy but addictive soap opera stuff, Lynn chimed in. It could work. Lynn has good taste. Cole turned and gave her a thumbs up. Of course. I could even be a scriptwriter, Lynn said, as proud as a little kid. Her eyes darted back and forth between Cole's face and her mother's legs, watching him like a hawk to make sure he wasn't sneaking a peek. So far, it seemed he hadn't, but she was still worried. The guy was a known player who had probably just been up to no good in his office. It would be a disaster if he set his sights on her mom. She was an adult now. She knew about men. Vanessa didn't answer right away. She lowered her gaze, thinking. Cole didn't rush her, waiting patiently. After 2 or 3 minutes, Vanessa suddenly spoke. I'll give you $50 million, but I want 20%. Well, Cole feigned hesitation. It wasn't impossible, but 20% was a lot. The future valuation of the video site would be massive. The thought raced through his mind, and in the space of a single breath, he made a decision. Deal, Ms. Fan, that 20% will bring you a huge return. That's all in the future. Just don't let me lose money. I'll have to take out a loan to get that much cash together. Vanessa sat up straight, looking deeply at Cole. Cole met her gaze with absolute confidence. Guaranteed profit. The eyes of the older woman and the young man met in the air between them, practically crackling with electricity. They stared at each other, and, for a moment, one might think it was something else entirely. Hey, what are you two doing? Stop looking at each other like that. An unhappy voice startled them both. Vanessa shot her daughter a harsh glare. What are you talking about? Cole's face flushed. but his thick skin hid it well. After a moment of silence, Vanessa said, "Fine, give me some time." "Of course, Ms. Fan. I'll head back up," then Cole said, getting to his feet. "Okay." As he left, Vanessa called out, "Lynn, come here." But Lynn, as if she hadn't heard, trailed right behind Cole. Seeing her daughter ignore her, Vanessa could only shake her head. At least she was talking to her now. Before, whole days would pass without a single word. She had high hopes for the video site Cole had described. The young man didn't make moves without a reason. Headline today was proof of that. She decided to go all in. After a moment of absent-minded reflection, she suddenly laughed out loud. How on earth did she end up trusting a kid? In the elevator. "Don't get the wrong idea. We were just negotiating," Cole explained. "I know," Lynn said, picking at a property management notice stuck to the elevator wall with her fingernail. Just in case. Cole had nothing more to say. Near the end of the workday, he took his little vixen to the cafeteria for dinner, then walked her back to her dorm. She still had to put in a little overtime with Brianna and Felicity. Jasmine's last exam didn't end until 8, so Cole didn't bother her, just chatted with her for a while on Messenger before bed. The next day was Saturday. Cole slept in late, woken by the ringing of his phone. He picked it up and saw it was Serena. "Cole, can you come over for a minute? My cousin is here and wants to see you." "Don't worry, I'm here. If he dares to threaten you, I'll disown him." As if afraid he'd be hesitant, Serena added the last part for emphasis. "Thanks, babe," Cole said, genuinely touched. He wasn't afraid, but her protectiveness warmed his heart. After a quick wash-up, he detoured to the law school. He couldn't take his usual route. The streets with heavy student traffic were closed to cars. This time, the Bentley was gone, replaced by a standard BMW. Only his cousin-in-law and Serena were standing by the roadside. Spencer Chun watched with a complicated expression as Cole got out of the Audi. An A8 wasn't particularly rare or luxurious. What was rare was his new understanding of Cole. He had originally dismissed him as a freshman full of hot air. He never imagined the kid would now be a known name in the internet world. He might not be able to compete with the industry giants, but he had made a name for himself as a uniquely young and aggressive new player. Spencer wasn't in the tech world, but he'd heard people talking, and it finally clicked who this was. He vaguely remembered the naive-looking boy from last year. "Cole," Serena waved, bouncing on her feet, completely ignoring her cousin's presence. "Babe." Cole returned the favor, not holding back, calling out the pet name affectionately. The word babe made Spencer's eye twitch. He glanced at his cousin, but remained silent. "Hello, Mr. Chun," Cole said with a smile, extending his hand for a handshake, intentionally using the formal title. "Hello, Mr. Chun." As they shook hands, Spencer felt a knot of awkwardness. Calling a 19-year-old boy Mr. felt strange. He then turned to his cousin. "Serena, let us talk for a minute. You can wait here, okay?" "Of course. Not. I'm staying with Cole." Serena shook her head firmly. There was no telling if her cousin would threaten Cole. She wasn't giving him the chance. "Babe, it's okay. Wait for me in the car. I'll just have a few words with your cousin and be right back," Cole said, gently stroking Serena's head and gesturing toward his car. This gesture made Spencer frown again. He was the only one who knew that while his cousin was generally obedient, she was also incredibly strong-willed. Only a few of her elders had ever been allowed to touch her head. No one else would even dare to think about it. And now, "Okay, just call me if you need anything." Serena smiled sweetly, then turned to Spencer. "You two talk." With that, she got in the passenger seat of Cole's car, pulled out her phone, but kept her eyes fixed on the two men as they walked away. Spencer cleared his throat and began. "Mr. Chun, I'll be direct. I'm here to take Serena to the capital, but she refuses to go. She wants to stay here and work with you. I want you to convince her. Her grandfather misses her very much, and if her mother has to come, things could get difficult. She's the chief legal officer of Headline today, and you want me to convince her to abandon her post? What exactly are you thinking, Mr. Chun?" Cole replied with a slight smile, ignoring the veiled threat in Spencer's last sentence. Of course her grandfather wanted to see her, but if he had just called, Serena, being the person she was, would have gone no matter how reluctant she was. No convincing would be necessary. Therefore, his cousin-in-law's motives were likely more complex. Cole couldn't see the whole picture yet, so he decided to start by pushing back. Chief legal officer?" Spencer's expression turned slightly contemptuous. "Can't the Chun family give her that? We could make her CEO with a single phone call. Headline today may have a little fame, but what's it really worth? A measly CLO position is nothing." "You're right, it's not much. So go on, give her the CEO position." Cole shot back, his own face now tinged with disdain. "I don't know your company's name or what you do. Maybe your business is huge and you look down on our little operation. But I can guarantee you this. You can't give her the CEO title. Either that spot is held by one of your own people, or it's filled by a board appointee. In the first case, you wouldn't be willing to make a change. In the second, you wouldn't be able to. Am I right? Spencer let out an awkward laugh, at a loss for words. It was true. He couldn't change it. When a business gets to a certain size, you need shareholders to expand your reach. He tried to save face. I was just using the title as an example. She doesn't need to work. We can give her anything she wants. Can you give her 200 million? Can you give her equity? Cole's smile was laced with sarcasm. Again, Spencer was speechless. He instinctively thought about it, and the answer was no. Where they get that much cash flow? Even if they had it, they couldn't just give it away. It would cripple the company's operations. And equity was even harder to part with. It would have to come from his own shares. To regain control of the conversation, he snorted, "She doesn't need that right now. The family has plenty for her. When she needs it in the future, it will be there. So what do you think she's lacking?" Cole pressed on relentlessly. She's lacking nothing. As long as she follows the path laid out for her, her future is limitless. It's not something a small-time CLO position can compare to, Spencer said, shaking his head as if lamenting Cole's provincial worldview. The status of the Chun family was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. He felt there was no need to explain. You don't discuss ice with a summer insect. You're saying you don't have to give her anything, but she has to give something to you? Is that right? Cole saw the condescension in Spencer's eyes and immediately retorted. If providing food and shelter counted as giving, then every family in the world was a benefactor. What gave him the right to feel so superior? His status? But he couldn't flash that around. In fact, he had to hide it to avoid being seen as arrogant or power-abusing. Serena's own humble demeanor was proof of that. Thinking of this, Cole's feelings grew complicated. Serena had an excellent upbringing. That was a fact. But it came with a heavy burden. If Serena were a power-hungry person, she'd be in her element. But she wasn't, which made it all a painful ordeal. Just then, a passing student waved and called out, "Hey, Cole." Cole looked over and saw several students he didn't recognize, all smiling. He quickly smiled and waved back. Hey there. He was famous on campus now. It was inevitable that people would know him. As the students walked past, they started whispering. Looks like the headline today, "Boss isn't as arrogant as people say. They're just jealous." Yeah, he seems pretty easygoing. Spencer's gaze returned from the students, and his expression turned cold. There are some things you don't understand. The fact that I'm even talking to you this calmly is because of Serena. At any other time, you wouldn't even have the right to meet me. Seeing that Cole wasn't cooperating, he finally played his status card. You're right. What right does a commoner like me have to speak with people like you? Cole's lips curled into a dismissive smirk. I just want to say that Serena Chun is a person with free will. Where she goes and whether she wants to go is her own decision. You've come to the wrong person. Serena was in the car behind them. Cole wouldn't say anything harsh to her relative. It was pointless. The more you threaten people like this, the more they revel in it, thinking you lack composure. They'll try to provoke you, looking for a verbal slip-up they can use as leverage to escalate the conflict and destroy your reputation. It was a classic trap. Cole wouldn't fall for it, especially not when it came to Serena. Now you're just being difficult. To have built headline today, you shouldn't have such poor emotional intelligence. I'm just respecting Serena's freedom and human rights, Cole said with a placid smile. Even if Serena decided to leave him one day, he would respect her choice. You have to be prepared to accept pain, whether it comes or not. That's just selfish. You're not thinking about her future. The future she could have is beyond comparison to being the CLO of headline today. As if you're not being selfish. What? Is she supposed to conquer the world for you? Did you even ask for her consent? Cole was getting more and more certain that this family was just using Serena as a tool. Under the guise of her future, they were trying to realize their own so-called ambitions. In the end, wasn't it all about self-interest? Aside from his desire for 3 wives, Cole felt he could justify everything else. And even that, he could justify. Why could others do it but not him? Take the guy in front of him. Did anyone really believe he only had one woman? Memories of the suffering in his past life flashed through his mind, and Cole's face darkened. They were all a bunch of sanctimonious hypocrites. The ones who apologize and condemn you the most are the ones who are the most depraved in secret, hoarding all the resources for themselves. He'd seen it too many times, and it was the same with women. Queen bees with multiple guys on the go, constantly filtering and selecting. That was the norm, but him trying to have serious relationships was somehow wrong? He had understood from the beginning. Spencer's words were a demand for him to convince Serena, but his real meaning was, you need to break up with her. The cold smile on Cole's face finally provoked Spencer, who dropped all pretense. If we can't talk sense, so be it. Serena's mother will not approve of this, and neither will we. Sorry, I don't know what you mean, Cole said, feigning ignorance. You know exactly what I mean. Serena is not someone you are worthy of. The man she will marry is someone you can't even imagine. Even if your headline today is worth $100 million, you're still just this. Enraged, Spencer held up his pinky finger, the arrogance of a second-generation elite finally showing. If you persist in this delusion, you will be crushed. Your headline today will cease to exist. Do you believe me? No, I don't, Cole said, his gaze locking on his cousin-in-law's. He had anticipated this day, but he had Eastwood's backing, and bringing Vanessa Fan on as a partner wasn't just about the licenses. As long as headline today didn't break the law, no one could take him down overtly. As for underhanded tactics, his platform was the new media mouthpiece. What was there to fear? And he was certain they couldn't attack him covertly. They had to find a reason in the open. Headline Today was an online platform, not a physical factory that needed land or permits. The FCC was a federal agency, independent of other political interference. And he was here, in Rockford. In short, what can you do to me? Stubborn as a mule. A classic case of youthful arrogance. Spencer shook his head, as if lamenting Cole's naivete, but a flicker of caution appeared in his eyes. If there are any real predators out there, the government will hunt them down. If not today, then tomorrow. I'm a conscientious entrepreneur. Why should I be afraid? Cole said calmly. If you resort to dirty tricks, then you become the predator. If it ever came to that, he would mobilize the full power of Headline Today and fight to the bitter end. No one would walk away unscathed. You really are. Spencer didn't know how to describe this person. Call him reckless, and yet he'd built Headline Today. Call him worldly and sophisticated, and yet he was as stubborn and unyielding as a rock. Realizing he wasn't going to find a breakthrough here, Spencer paused for a moment before revealing his true purpose. If you had been more cooperative, I would have been willing to invest in your company, to provide you with protection. But your performance has been rather disappointing. Thank you for your kind offer, but Headline Today is on the straight and narrow. We don't need any protection, Cole said with a smile. But inside, a thought sparked. Perhaps this was the real reason he was here. You underestimate this market. If Headline Today wants to break out, without protection, it's like a sheep walking into a pack of wolves. Just watch. Copycats will appear soon. With their deep pockets, they'll surpass you in less than a month. What will you do then? Spencer's arrogant demeanor vanished, replaced by the calm confidence of a seasoned veteran. He thought he had found Cole's weak spot. I admit they have deep pockets, and they might surpass me in download numbers in the short term. But they won't last, Cole said, fully confident. Unless his competitor was also a reincarnator. Even the biggest venture capital firms had their share of failed investments. When faced with the unknown, everyone was on a level playing field. He was now even more certain that this was what his cousin-in-law was after. You that confident? Spencer couldn't understand where this kid's bravado was coming from. Judging by his move of inviting the FCC for a site visit, the kid was clearly intelligent. It was impossible that he hadn't considered the threat of well-funded copycats. So, what other tricks did he have up his sleeve? Spencer crossed his arms, thought for a moment, then raised a hand to his chin. I'll invest $30 million for 49% of the company. I'll handle any problems you encounter. How about it? You've got to be kidding me. Cole shot him a dismissive glance. This guy was just looking for a cheap handout. The possibility of him being here to actually pick up Serena was shrinking by the second. This was likely his sole purpose. Hey, what kind of way is that to talk? You're a student at a top university, but you talk like a crude villager. The bluntness of Cole's refusal left Spencer sputtering, his face darkening. Even Confucius swore when he was dealing with robbers. I'm not even close to his level, Cole chuckled. And aren't you just a robber? The fact that I'm not dropping F-bombs is a sign of my refinement. I'm being serious. I'm investing in your Headline Today, Spencer said, ignoring Cole's attempt to change the subject. Headline Today is not accepting any investment. We're not short on cash, Cole said with a wave of his hand. Seeing Spencer's crestfallen expression, he added, but if you really have so much money you don't know what to do with it, I might be able to give you an opportunity. Cole wanted more cash to inject into the new video site to help Headline Today expand even faster. He was going to use this chicken to lay some eggs, and it all depended on whether his cousin-in-law had the resources. As for the ultimate ownership of the video site, it would be a subsidiary of his Cayman Islands Corporation. Even Vanessa Fan would only have dividend rights. He would call all the shots. Go on. The investment can be increased, but I must have 49% of Headline Today, Spencer said, his spirits lifting. This was why he had rushed to fly here. His grandfather had mentioned picking up his cousin, but he hadn't said it had to be right now. I wasn't talking about headline today. Let me repeat. Headline today is not accepting any investment, Cole said, wagging his index finger. If it's not headline today, then forget it. I'm not interested in anything else. Spencer's face fell. Only headline today had any real potential. What else could this kid possibly pull out of his hat? Fine, let's pretend I never said anything. Don't come crying to me later, Cole said with a cold laugh, turning to leave. Wait, Spencer immediately called out, his eyes betraying his indecision. His own business ventures were a mixed bag. Real estate, apparel, domestic smartphones, all of them half dead. They made a little money, but once it was divided up, it wasn't much. His uncle had even warned him to stay away from real estate. Tell me your idea. I'll consider it. Fine, Cole said bluntly, and laid out his plan for the video site. He wasn't worried about Spencer stealing the idea. A video site without the backing of Headline Today was no different from Netflix or Hulu. No one would invest a fortune to create a carbon copy to compete with the existing giants. Are you sure this is viable? Spencer didn't really understand the internet and only half grasped what Cole was saying. How should I know if it's viable? You only find out by trying. It's not like you're selling government permits. Cole shot back, giving the princeling no face. The comment made Spencer blush. He had, in fact, done just that. Selling permits was how he got his startup capital years ago. When his father and grandfather found out, they tied him up and whipped him. It was a painful lesson, but at least he got the money. A glint appeared in his eye, and he feigned nonchalance. I'll think about it. Even if I agree, I'd invest $5 million at most to test the waters. And I want at least 40% of the shares. Get real. The investment can't be less than $70 million for 20%. Take it or leave it. Don't say I didn't give you a chance, Cole said. He understood now. This guy thought he was desperate for cash. That, combined with his short-sightedness about the internet, made him act like a greedy fool. You're the one who needs to get real. $70 million for only 20%? Spencer was floored. He stood there, mouth agape, his face changing color. You? Hey, Cole. Hi, Cole. I'm a user on Headline Today. A girl from a group of students walking across the street called out, cutting Spencer's tirade short. Hey there. Cole waved back with a smile. Cole, can we get a picture? The girl asked, a mix of excitement and nervousness in her voice. Of course, Cole nodded repeatedly, his smile turning humble. The girl jogged across the street, a boy with a digital camera trailing behind her. Cole caught the flicker of conflict in the boy's smile and immediately understood. This was probably her boyfriend or a suitor. When the girl reached his side, he asked, Is this your boyfriend? Oh, yeah, he is, the girl replied cheerfully. This put Cole at ease. The last thing he wanted was for the girl to hesitate, like that one girl at a concert who held up a single finger and earned himself another hater. He looked at the boy and smiled. If you don't mind, let's all take one together. Sure. The boy's smile immediately brightened. Just as he was about to ask someone else to take the picture, Cole spoke up. Hey, cousin, mind taking a picture for us? Sir, you can give him the camera. Spencer's expression had instantly shifted to one of calm, noble dignity, a practiced smile on his face. In his anger, he didn't even register the casual cousin. Hey, of course. I'll take it for you. Click, click. After taking the photos, he handed the camera back to the boy, his face still plastered with a fake smile. Thanks, man, the boy said. The girl waved. Bye, Cole. We're huge fans of Headline Today. Bye. Thanks for the support, Cole said, pressing his palms together. The two men stood in silence, watching the students walk away. You're quite the people person, Spencer said, his eyes holding a complex mix of emotions. We're all just trying to get by. It's about mutual respect, Cole said with a slight smile. Are you sure that video site will make money? I'm not 100% certain. But if you invest that $70 million, I guarantee you won't regret it. Spencer was silent for several long minutes. I'll go back and think about it. I'll give you an answer in a few days. Fine. Spencer drove off in his BMW, leaving his cousin behind. Cole, what did you and my cousin talk about? Serena asked, her face full of curiosity as she came up beside him. He wanted to invest in Headline Today. I refused, but I agreed to let him invest in the new video site we're building, Slice Video, Cole said, watching the BMW's taillights disappear around the corner. He wondered if his cousin-in-law would actually invest. Slice Video? Like Netflix? I even have a subscription, Serena said, raising a hand to shield her eyes from the intensifying sun. Something like that, but it'll be connected to Headline Today, Cole said, quickly pulling her into the shade of a large plane tree by the road. The tall trees provided excellent cover from the sun. Wow, you're making a whole video website? I need to work harder then. I'll be learning so much more in my second year, Serena exclaimed, her pretty face filled with awe. Babe, don't work too hard. Take your time. We have plenty of it, Cole said, stroking her head comfortingly. It was best for his 3 girls to have classes to attend and some work to do, enough to feel fulfilled, but not so much that they were exhausted. Cole, you're the best. Serena wrapped her arms around his waist, rubbing her forehead against his chest. Today she was wearing a pink dress with a gray ribbon tying her hair in a low ponytail. White socks covered her long, fair calves paired with white flats. She looked sweet and lovely, full of youthful energy. Her skin was as white as milk, and the lines of her calves were perfect. Mem Cole, people are watching, Serena murmured, one hand on his head while she nervously glanced left and right. He was crouching down, staring at her calves. Huh? Oh, I couldn't help myself, Cole chuckled, standing up. You fiend. Serena's face was red. She took his hand. Will you walk with me? Of course. We can follow this shady path. It loops right around to the cafeteria. We can get some lunch. How about it? Okay. They walked hand in hand, the rows of plane trees blocking out the summer heat as cicadas buzzed incessantly. An occasional cool breeze rustled the hem of her pink dress. Cole explained the purpose of the video site in detail. Serena listened intently, tilting her head to ask questions whenever she didn't understand, her eyes sparkling with joy and relaxation. As long as he was by her side, she was completely at ease. Hi, Cole. A few students walking toward them recognized him. Hello. Cole quickly smiled and greeted them. Another photo op, this time with a group of people, taken on someone's iPhone. Cole and Serena stood in the middle. Because she was in a photo with users, Serena let go of his hand, but pressed herself tightly against his side. By the time they reached the law school cafeteria, not many people recognized Cole. Even when they sat down, most eyes were on Serena first. Only a few recognized Cole. Is that Cole Chun, the founder of Headline Today? I think so. His picture is on the university website, and I've seen him here a few times. So the Ice Queen is with him. You're just finding that out? I saw on Headline Today that he's with the Full Moon of Eastwood, from the finance department. Full Moon. Never heard of it. What's that mean? I don't think it said they were together, just that she's the CFO. Really? I must have remembered it wrong. The cafeteria was crowded, so no one came over to bother them, though there were some quiet murmurs. They were too far away to hear, and they chatted as they ate. When they left, they were the object of envy for every student in the dining hall. Back on a shaded path. Babe, let's go back to the car and blast the AC for a bit, Cole the cat suggested thoughtfully. You just want to be bad. Serena protested, pressing her forehead against his arm and wriggling playfully. I promise I won't be bad. We'll just cool off. Yes, you will. So, do you want to go? Yes. Blushing, Serena let him lead her back to the Audi. In the back seat, Serena curled her legs up, a long stretch of pinkish-white thigh exposed from under her dress. Her little sock-clad feet rested on either side of her. She buried her face in the crook of Cole's neck and took a deep breath, like a little kitten. Then she said shyly, You said you'd behave, but you're already being bad. Am I? My hands haven't moved, Cole said innocently, holding them up. You fiend. You have. Have not. Have to. MMPH. The Audi A8's air conditioning was powerful, doing an excellent job of neutralizing the localized heat. The tinted windows provided a good visual barrier. At least, the girls walking by didn't notice a thing. It only scared a little bug crawling under the tire. It wasn't until Serena, her eyes squeezed shut, managed to cry out, Cole, that's so strange. What's happening to me? Whoosh, that she finally settled. It took her a while to calm down. Though he couldn't relieve his own pressure, he could at least stay still with her. They held each other, listening to the sound of their breathing. After a long while, Serena said softly, Cole, I have to go home for a bit this summer to see my grandpa with my mom. He needs another surgery, but I can go back a little later. Okay, babe, I understand, Cole said, gently stroking the back of her head. Serena tilted her face up, her bright eyes full of longing. I get so anxious when I'm far away from you, she whispered. Don't be scared, babe. I'm always here. Just finish up and come back quickly, Cole said, lowering his head to nuzzle her nose. Okay. Serena actively puckered her lips for a kiss, then closed her eyes. The car was cooler than her dorm, and Cole was holding her. She drifted off to sleep, not waking until after 2. She woke up and stretched comfortably. Cole walked her back to her dorm. Serena had a strict daily study routine, even during the holidays. She was determined to learn as much as possible to help him, and, as much as it pained him to see her work so hard, he respected her persistence. Not long after he got back to his own dorm, his Facebook Messenger pinged. In a girls' dorm at Eastwood Tech School of Business. Jasmine frowned at the picture Alex had sent her. It was Cole and Serena, along with several other students. The caption read, "Met the founder of Headline today and his goddess girlfriend today. Cole is super chill and took a picture with us. His girlfriend is beautiful." Jasmine was silent for a long time, then scrolled back to a previous micro-post Alex had forwarded her. Eastwood's full moon is Headline today's CFO, confirmed by founder Cole Chun himself. Got his girlfriend, huh? Full moon. Huh. Jasmine's expression was placid. She let out a slow breath and sent a message to her brother. "I'm going back to Linden Creek." The words "got his girlfriend" stung Jasmine's eyes. Girlfriend. That should just be her title. No matter how magnanimous she was, no matter how much she had tacitly accepted the existence of the other two girls, right now her heart ached. It was a bitter, sour feeling. She desperately needed a certain bastard to come explain, to comfort her, to let her bite him. And if he didn't come, she was going back to Linden Creek. But what if he really didn't come? Jasmine's heart was torn. She knew her brother would come, but she was afraid he wouldn't. Ping, 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 ping. Facebook Messenger chimed. She immediately opened it. "Cole, babe, I'm on my way. Wait for me in your dorm." In his dorm at Eastwood University, Cole sent the message and practically sprinted down the stairs. He rushed to the parking lot and drove straight for Eastwood Tech. The campus speed limit was 20 miles per hour, but his heart was already racing ahead. She hadn't replied, but he knew she'd be waiting. When he reached the gate of Eastwood Tech, he sent another message. "Babe, I'm at the gate coming in now." He followed the rules and signed in. One of the security guards even recognized him as the madman who had been frantically searching for someone before. Cole smoothly handed 2 packs of cigarettes he kept ready through the window. The sign-in process was waived. They knew he was an Eastwood student anyway. He parked in a lot near the business school's women's dormitory and sent another message telling her he had arrived. After waiting patiently for about 10 minutes, he finally saw Jasmine walking from the direction of her dorm. Today she was wearing a sleeveless black dress and white casual shoes. A silver chain was clasped around her right wrist. She looked elegant and mysterious. The only problem was the cold, hard expression on her beautiful face. She looked calm, but it was a mask for her displeasure. Cole quickly got out of the driver's seat and dutifully opened the back door for her. "I'm not getting in. What do you want?" Jasmine said, her arms crossed, her body stiff. She clamped her lips shut, her expression placid, but a flicker of sourness and anxiety flashed deep in her eyes. She was sulking. Cole gently placed a hand on her slender waist, feeling her beautiful body tense up instantly. He could see she was angry and coaxed her in a soft voice. "Babe, please get in the car first. It's cool inside. I have something to tell you." The air was silent for a few seconds. Jasmine slapped his hand away and said coolly, "Fine. Make it quick. I have things to do." Then she ducked into the car. Cole followed her in with a wry look on his face. He saw her turn her head to stare out the window, her black hair cascading over her shoulder, her delicate, fragrant ear just visible through the strands. Cole instantly pinpointed the reason for her anger. It had to be the photo. A user must have posted it and said something that made her jealous. "Babe, don't go back. I need you to stay with me," Cole said, gently taking her crossed arms. There was some initial resistance, but after a brief struggle, she let him pull them apart. He needed her hand, but she didn't squeeze back like she usually did. He could tell she was really angry. She just wasn't saying it. "Where do you need me to stay?" "I'm going back to Linden Creek." Jasmine stared aimlessly out the window, her rapidly darting eyes betraying her inner turmoil. Cole wasn't about to listen to her stubborn nonsense. He moved closer, swiftly scooping her up by the shoulders and under her knees. Ignoring her struggles, he firmly placed her on his lap. "Let me go. Don't hold me." Jasmine tried to get up, but he held her tight. After a few failed attempts, she gave up, leaning against his shoulder, panting. She didn't speak, just stared blankly out the window. "Let me see. What's wrong with my darling babe?" Cole smoothed her messy hair. Jasmine immediately turned her head away, hiding her face in the crook of his neck, showing only the line of her delicate jaw. Her hands lay limp on her own legs, not wrapping around him like they used to. Cole suppressed a smile. The normally mature Jasmine was acting like a pouting little girl. He leaned down and planted a kiss on her soft, fair cheek, habitually sucking on the flesh and making a smack sound. Jasmine remained silent, burying her face deeper, a clear sign she didn't want to be kissed. "Babe, you smell so good." "Smack, smack." "Ugh, you're so annoying." Jasmine turned her face completely away, pressing it against his shoulder. The corner of her mouth, hidden by her black hair, curled up for a second before quickly flattening again. "Babe, why are you mad?" Cole asked, feigning ignorance to give her a chance to vent. I'm not mad, Jasmine mumbled. Then why are you going back to Linden Creek? For no reason. I want to go, so I'm going. Your hand. I'm going to hit you. Jasmine reached back to pull down the hem of her dress, which had ridden up to her waist. But a hand was in the way. She couldn't pull it down. The next second, a sharp pain shot through Cole's chest. Her teeth had clamped down on the skin. He shuddered, but didn't struggle. He lowered his head and sniffed her hair. So fragrant. I love this smell. I just want to smell it every day. I'll go 10 days without washing my hair and stink you to death. Jasmine released him and started pinching him instead, making him wince. He endured it, but it genuinely hurt. Babe, you could go a month without washing your hair, and you'd still smell like flowers. Liar. Jasmine suddenly sat up, kneeling on his lap. She grabbed his cheeks and asked fiercely, Tell me, who is your goddess girlfriend? Huh? Goddess girlfriend? Cole was stunned. What had she seen? His mind raced. It couldn't be anyone other than Serena or Luna. Most likely, it was that photo with Serena. Ugh, these troublesome users. His expression shifted from stunned to gentle in a split second. He said with deep affection, It's you, of course, babe. Liar. It's Serena, isn't it? People are posting about you two all over headline today, talking about you and your goddess girlfriend. Jasmine's words were dripping with acid. Who posted that? It must have been from a photo with a user, right? I don't care who you took a picture with. I'm not happy about it. After their physical closeness, Jasmine finally blurted out the truth. Babe, I'll go back and delete that user's post. They shouldn't be posting nonsense like that, Cole said, not meaning a word of it. As he expected, Jasmine wouldn't agree to delete it. She was fair and she was proud, and if Serena saw that it had been deleted, she would probably be upset. Sure enough, Jasmine snorted. Delete what? That will just make the user unhappy. The user is the customer. Damn, you're right. What should I do? Maybe I can explain in the comments. Cole put on a show of being troubled. Explain my ass. The more you explain, the more excited people will get, Jasmine said, punching his shoulder in frustration. Then, Cole smacked his lips, a look of agony on his face. After a moment of hesitation, he pretended to reach for the AC vent. Babe, it's a little cold in here. Let's go for a walk. The sun isn't so strong now. He knew what she wanted. She needed to win this round, to have her moment. All right, it is getting a little chilly, Jasmine said, seeming to take his advice. The AC has been on for a while. They got out of the car and walked to the shade of a tree by the side of the road. Cole reached for Jasmine's hand, but she swatted it away. He offered her his arm, but she ignored that too. He resigned himself to walking beside her, intentionally guiding them toward the busier main campus walkway. He saw a few heads turn, eyes already drawn to the stunning woman in the black dress. Seizing the moment, he suddenly shouted, Jasmine, headline today, can't live without you. You're the director of operations, managing hundreds of people. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Jasmine shot back, swatting his shoulder, a blush rising on her cheeks. Cole just grinned sheepishly. Just letting everyone know who you are. What's there to tell? She huffed, rolling her eyes and trying to look nonchalant. The campus was full of pretty girls, but few had the radiant, commanding presence of a woman like her. Her tall, elegant figure, nourished by a certain magical energy, seemed to give off a captivating feminine charm at all times. Especially after certain recent events, her hips, which had once been rather still when she walked, now swayed with a subtle rhythm. Each step was like a willow branch in the wind, drawing even more attention than before. Cole shouted worked. Students walking toward them, students lounging in the shade of the trees. Everyone looked over. Jasmine Young is getting more and more beautiful. Well, you know she's experienced now. How can you tell? I'm a girl. Of course I can tell. Isn't that Cole Chun, the owner of Headline Today? Yeah, I heard he was her little brother or something. He rushed the stage at the freshman welcome showcase. We didn't know he was the boss back then. So, Jasmine Young isn't it obvious? She's robbing the cradle. Hey, didn't a post go up this morning saying Cole has some goddess girlfriend? Oh, right. So, whoa, wait, holy crap. Forget their drama. Let's just get some clicks out of this. Just as they were about to pass, Cole heard exactly what he'd been waiting for. Hey, Cole Chun, what's up? A guy sitting with a group of friends under a tree was waving at him. Hey, everyone. Cole replied with a broad, friendly smile. Can we get a picture, Cole? The guy asked, standing up eagerly. Yeah, Mr. Chun, we're huge fans of Headline Today. We really admire you, a girl from the group chimed in, also standing. Of course, Cole said, his heart singing. This was exactly what he wanted. Headline users are all friends. He then put on a conflicted expression and turned to the beautiful woman beside him. Jasmine, what can I do? There are customers. We should probably cooperate. All right, Jasmine replied, playing her part beautifully. A photo is no big deal. It's good to let our users feel that Headline Today is a company with a human touch. She was being so thoughtful, so considerate of the company. They gathered for a picture by the side of the path, asking a passing student to take the photo. In a complete reversal of her earlier attitude, Jasmine linked her arm intimately through Cole's, her smile radiant. Cole, going with the flow, flashed a peace sign just like the other students. He laughed to himself. At the end of the day, his big sister was still just a 22-year-old girl. She couldn't always be the strong one. Sometimes, he had to let her be the little sister who needed to be doted on. He didn't care how people posted the photo online. He intentionally wanted all three of his babies to get some screen time. As for the online chatter, Headline Today was his. As they continued their walk, people kept calling out to them. Each time, Cole would pull Jasmine closer and respond with enthusiasm, projecting an image of pure accessibility. He could feel her mood improving with every step, the smile rarely leaving her face. Jasmine, the upperclassmen are so friendly, Cole said deliberately. They're all great customers. It just goes to show that Headline's marketing is effective, she replied with a serious expression, but the corners of her eyes were crinkled in a smile. After a satisfying stroll, they returned to the car. Jasmine obediently got into the back seat. Satisfied, sister? Cole asked, winking. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Jasmine's face flushed, and she quickly turned to stare out the window, trying to hide the smile that was fighting its way onto her lips. You're not jealous anymore, are you? Cole chuckled, deciding to poke the bear. What are you talking about? Who's jealous? Jasmine whipped her head around, glaring at him with feigned anger. But then she saw Cole wiggling his eyebrows mischievously. Realizing her little secret had been completely seen through, she flew into a mock rage, lunging forward and hammering his chest with her fists. How dare you treat me like this? I hate you. Cole caught her flailing hands, wrapped them around his own neck, and pulled her into his lap. Jasmine didn't resist. She leaned over him, their foreheads touching. Her dark hair fell like a curtain, enclosing their faces in a private world. Jasmine, you're not going anywhere. You're mine. I hate you. I love you. Cole cupped her flushed, hot face and kissed her, greedily sucking on her soft, fragrant lips. Jasmine threw her arms around his head, her fingers tangling in his hair as she responded with equal fervor. They were lost in the kiss. No one noticed the black Audi in the parking lot trembling slightly, and it trembled for over an hour. Jasmine lay motionless, her breathing ragged. After a moment, she whispered, Cole, why do you have these in the car? I brought them for you. Is that all you think about? Well, did you like it? I'm not telling you. Do you still hate me? Cole stared into her eyes as he asked, looking deep into their dark, shining depths. You know the answer, Jasmine whispered, her heart melting under his gaze as she caressed his cheek. Of course it was love. A love so deep it was in her bones. A love that made life impossible without him. But who would willingly share their man with other women? Her heart was a mess of contradictions. Her emotions told her to be possessive, to declare war. But her reason told her that if it weren't Serena and Luna, it would be others, and there would be more and more of them. It was a vicious cycle that her little brother would be trapped in, whether he wanted it or not. When a man got rich, he didn't have to try to be bad. He would inevitably fall into a pit of temptation. And a handsome 19-year-old, already worth millions, was basically a nuclear-powered magnet. Good women, bad women, they would all come flocking. It was human nature. Who wouldn't want him? She couldn't fend them all off by herself. Most of the time, she worried he would fall into a pink trap. So she convinced herself that having Serena and Luna around was actually a good thing. At least they were both good girls. Serena had a powerful background that might be useful to him one day, and Luna was the perfect choice for a CFO. And if her own body failed her, they could at least carry on the Chun family line. Thinking it was one thing, but feeling the sting was another. When she saw the words goddess girlfriend, it was like a vat of vinegar had tipped over in her heart. Fortunately, her little brother understood her perfectly. She doted on him, and in return, he doted on her little fits of jealousy. It was a beautiful thing. So, you're not going back, right? Cole asked, planting another kiss on her fragrant lips. I am. Of course I am. Huh? What do you mean, huh? Jasmine rolled her eyes at him. Your godmother needs a follow-up exam. I have to go with her, and I'll get a checkup myself while I'm there. Your mom's on summer break, too, Cole said. I should ask if she wants to come visit. If she does, I'll bring them both to the city for a few days. Oh, you scared me. I thought you were leaving me. Cole pretended to be startled. You're scared I'll leave you? A soft light flickered in Jasmine's eyes. Terrified. Absolutely terrified. Cole admitted his weakness without reservation. Then, he gently but firmly gripped the nape of her neck. "You're staying by my side for the rest of your life," he said, his voice deep. "You're not going anywhere." So demanding. "You just want to lock me down, don't you?" Jasmine feigned annoyance, but her eyes were filled with delight. The last bit of sourness in her heart dissolved, and her life felt full and complete once more. As dusk settled, a radiant Jasmine finally emerged from the car. Just as she was about to enter her building, she saw Alex Tang run out from the opposite dorm. "Jasmine, let's go get dinner," Alex called out. I'm not that hungry. I think I'll just go back and sleep for a bit." Jasmine felt exhausted, her whole body limp. "Sleep? At this hour?" Alex looked at her strangely. This was unusual for Jasmine. She studied her friend for a few seconds. Jasmine's face was flushed as if she were drunk. Alex leaned in closer and sniffed. The strong, distinct scent of sex hung in the air. Holy crap. Was Cole Chun here? Alex glanced toward the parking lot and saw a black car driving away in the distance, too far to make out the license plate. But it looked familiar. "He was here for a little while," Jasmine said, trying to sound calm, but her expression gave her away. "We had to talk about something." "Yeah, from the smell of it, I'd say it was more than a little while." Alex's teasing smile made Jasmine blush. It hadn't been a little while. It had been a long while. "Fine, whatever. You should hurry up and take a shower. I'll wait for you, and we can talk about work over dinner." Alex waved her off. "Okay, wait for me in the room." Jasmine practically fled up the stairs. She had to wash up immediately. Alex followed close behind. That night, another post appeared on Headline Today. Spotted at Eastwood Tech. Headline Today founder Cole Chun and director of operations Jasmine Yang. Is this a cradle-robbing romance? The accompanying photo was the one they had taken with the students. The resolution wasn't as good as an iPhone's, but Jasmine's arm was linked through Cole's, her smile bright and generous. At the Eastwood University School of Law, Serena Chun was lying on her bed, reading a book. "Serena, look at this," Zoe said, handing her phone over. Serena took it, her gaze calm. A moment later, she handed it back and returned to her book. "Aren't you with Cole Chun? Doesn't this bother you?" Zoe was astonished. "It's just a clickbait headline." "Rumors," Serena said, unfazed and too lazy to explain. That was between her and Cole. Inwardly, she thought, "Now we're even." "I don't know, it doesn't look like it. You can see it in that woman's eyes." Zoe was trying to score points for her discovery. "You're mistaken. I'd rather not discuss my private life," Serena replied coolly, shutting her down. She was already missing her best friend, Phoebe. She'd be coming over in a few days once her school was on break, and they would move into the apartment at the Golden Bay residences together. Zoe took the hint and dropped the subject. Though she couldn't understand it, she knew better than to press. She was already regretting not standing more firmly by Serena's side before. That ship had probably sailed. She could only hope Serena's mother would keep her promise. Over in the accounting department at Eastwood, Felicity looked at Luna, hesitating for a moment before speaking. "Luna, there's something. I'm not sure if I should tell you." "Just say it," Luna replied, her eyes fixed on her computer screen, fingers flying across the keyboard, constantly resizing spreadsheets. Felicity walked over and handed Luna her phone. "See for yourself." Luna took the phone. Her gaze froze for a second, then returned to normal. She handed it back to Felicity and said flatly, "It's fine, Felicity. People use gimmicks to get views. The director and the CEO really are like brother and sister." Okay. Felicity decided to scrap her plan to analyze Luna's micro-expressions. If the person at the center of it wasn't worried, then there was no need for her to say more. Her roommate and boss was a very smart girl. She was sure Luna knew what was what. Brianna leaned over. "Let me see." After reading it, she hesitated. "Luna, I don't know what to say, but you should probably step up your game." "Ma'am, I know. Let's get this done. Payday is the day after tomorrow." Luna's expression didn't change one bit. There was no need to discuss something she was already keenly aware of. As for Jasmine Yang, she had an excellent impression of her. The woman had taken care of Cole for so long and had been incredibly kind to her back in Linden Creek. Besides, after seeing all those girls flocking around Cole the other day, she realized where the real danger lay. Outside. There would be hordes of them. You had to prioritize. You win some, you lose some. Having Cole by her side was already the greatest gift heaven could offer. Eastwood University's summer break began on July 10th. Students dragged their luggage home, and the campus opened up for tourists. A stream of visitors would soon arrive to soak in the university's atmosphere. Many students also stayed behind to save on travel costs. The three sages of their dorm room hadn't left. Frank and Javi lived too far away, and the plane tickets were expensive. Even though they had some savings now, they were too lazy to make the trip. Preston's mother and sister were coming to visit soon, and they planned to travel together. Jasmine had left for Linden Creek that morning. Cole reminded her to be back in the city by July 31st, because that was his Leo sister's birthday. That morning, Cole and Vanessa Fan officially signed the investment agreement. Serena was there to observe, a chance for her to gain practical experience. Vanessa invested $7.5 million for a 20% stake, with rights to profits but no say in operations. Of course, she could audit the books. Cole only had to state this condition once, and Vanessa agreed. She didn't want the hassle anyway. Seeing headline today's revenue grow daily, she conservatively estimated it was already in the 8 figures, only bolstered her confidence. The funds would arrive within 10 business days. At Cole's direction, the development department had already formed a video team. They were just waiting for the licenses. Vanessa had guaranteed she could get them within 30 business days. They had just signed in the morning when, that afternoon, Serena announced that her cousin had arrived. Spencer was dressed in designer casuals, a brand-name shirt and jeans, projecting an air of European wealth. He even had a secretary with him. After a curious tour of the company, Cole received him in his office with Serena at his side. "Made up your mind?" Cole asked with a smile. "Are you sure this will make money?" Spencer was still worried. $5 million was no small sum. He would have to take out a loan. He didn't have that kind of cash on hand. Who can guarantee a business is 100% profitable? Cole shrugged, refusing to make such a promise. After half an hour of hemming and hawing, Spencer finally decided to sign. Cole showed him the information of the other investor, just the name, investment amount, and stake percentage. It was his right to know. What gives? Spencer exploded. She gets 20% for $7.5 million, and I have to pay $10.5 million for the same 20%? No way. Serena glanced at her cousin, but said nothing. She knew the whole story. It's because she can get me all the necessary licenses. It's because she can protect me in this state. For that, she paid $7.5 million, and she trusts me 100%. I can protect you too, Spencer said, a little resentful. But his confidence in the investment had suddenly multiplied. Still, the name Vanessa Fan sounded familiar. It couldn't be a coincidence, could it? You can protect a light bulb. Where are we? Do you think your influence reaches here? Cole smiled. An outside dragon can't crush a local snake. He didn't want to call Vanessa a snake, though. She was too good for that. All right, can I meet the shareholder? Spencer wanted to know who this powerhouse was. If she was a big enough name, he might even know her. The glass door to the conference room was open. A magnetic voice drifted in as a person entered. Of course you can. Cole already told me everything. Spencer looked toward the voice and saw a sexy, mature woman in a tasteful, form-fitting purple dress. After studying her face, Spencer immediately stood up. "You're Ms. Fan?" he asked, uncertain. "You know me?" Vanessa sat down naturally on Cole's other side. "I saw you once a long time ago. I was only 10. A hint of deference crept into Spencer's expression. Spencer remembered exactly who the elegant woman sitting across from him was. Her father was very likely to climb another rung on the political ladder. If it were just that, he wouldn't have to be so deferential. They could meet as equals. But the Fan family had a long legacy. They weren't some powerless newcomers. Most importantly, Spencer remembered someone else, her first love. He was a man of real power, only 46, but already at the same level as Spencer's own uncle. The two of them had been the stars of a tragic youthful romance, a story that still circulated in their social circles. In the end, that man had chosen another partner from D.C., someone of a similar age, but with a deeper family background. The story went that Vanessa had been a rebellious girl back then, getting involved with him in high school, and their breakup had been a messy affair. Some things couldn't be spoken of, so Spencer could only mention having seen her once. If she was investing, he had nothing more to say. She could definitely protect Cole. He had no idea how Cole had even met her. It was bizarre. "And you are?" Vanessa, for her part, had no memory of meeting any 10-year-old boy. "My last name is Chun. My grandfather is Harrison Chun," Spencer said with a nod and a smile, laying his cards on the table. "Ah, so you're young Mr. Chun." Vanessa offered a polite acknowledgement, a flash of understanding and confusion in her eyes. She certainly knew of the Chun family, but how on earth did Cole know them? "Ms. Fan, please don't tease me. I'm no young master. If my grandfather heard that, he'd kill me," Spencer said quickly, waving his hands with a smile. After sitting down, he gestured toward Serena. "Ms. Fan, the head of legal at Headline Today, is my aunt's daughter. That's how I met Mr. Chun. Oh, I see. Vanessa looked with surprise at the young woman sitting next to Cole. So there was that connection, too. Was the Chun family secretly behind Headline Today? But it didn't seem like it. Serena turned her head, and the two women exchanged a nod and a smile. Vanessa already knew about the relationship between her head of legal and Cole. Her daughter had mentioned it. She just hadn't known Serena was Harrison Chin's granddaughter. Cole was playing with fire. Under the table, Vanessa stomped on Cole's foot. He thought she was prompting him to hurry up and get the contract signed. Mr. Chun, he said to Spencer, shall we sign? Let's do it. Spencer agreed without hesitation. If Vanessa Fan was daring enough to get in on this, then so was he. He did, however, plan to ask later if she had also invested in Headline Today itself. If she had, he wanted in too. The investment contract was signed smoothly. The $5 million would be delivered in 2 installments. Just like Vanessa, Spencer only had rights of profits and no say in operations. He was investing in a newly formed video company under his own name. Clearly, he'd come prepared. Vanessa didn't stay long. As soon as she left, Spencer asked directly, Mr. Chun, does the Fan family have money in Headline Today? No. Headline Today is not accepting any outside investment at this time. Cole shook his head. Headline had to be his and his alone. Or rather, it had to belong solely to his Cayman Islands corporation. Hearing that the fans weren't in on it either, Spencer felt a sense of relief. That was something you couldn't lie about. I'm going to appoint someone to represent my interests and monitor the flow of funds. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Spencer had no intention of letting his cousin be that representative. That would be like letting the fox guard the henhouse. Of course, Cole said. This was expected and perfectly legal and reasonable. He also knew Spencer wouldn't pick Serena. When it came to money, everyone was selfish. Cole and Serena walked Spencer downstairs. Before getting into his car, Spencer shot a complicated look at his cousin and Cole. Our cooperation is strictly business. It doesn't mean I support you too. Some things aren't as simple as you think. Mr. Chun, since this is just business, perhaps we should keep our private lives out of it, Cole replied. He never counted on anyone else's support. Everything depended on Serena's will. They'd deal with the future when it came. Life was short. You had to live it to the fullest. Spencer, don't tell your aunt too much, okay? I'll handle it myself, Serena said with a small, tight smile. I can pretend I didn't see anything. But Mr. Chun, you'd better take this video site seriously. I had to sell off half my shares in my other company just to pull this funding together. Spencer was still worried his $5 million might go down the drain. After all, even major venture capital funds back then would typically only invest a few million at most. At his uncle's suggestion, he was trying to disentangle himself from his previous, complicated company. Cole understood. He gave him a reassuring pat on the back. Don't worry. Just sit back and wait for the money to roll in. All right. Your confidence is reassuring. I'll give you a little tip then. My aunt will probably be coming to pick Serena up very soon. Spencer glanced at Cole, then at his cousin, a flicker of pity in his eyes. Serena's face fell. She thought her mother wasn't coming until the end of July. She had been planning to spend some quality time with Cole. A wave of heaviness settled over her. She forced a smile and watched her cousin's car drive away. Don't worry, baby, Cole said, seeing her unhappiness. He squeezed her small hand comfortingly. We still have time. The future isn't here yet. Take me to a movie tonight, like you promised. Okay. Serena was instantly reminded of his promise to take her to a movie and how he had playfully squeezed her fingers in the theater. The gloom lifted considerably, and a shy smile returned to her face. That's right. The future isn't here yet. Cherish the present. That evening, they had dinner at the gallery and then went upstairs to the movie theater to see some schlocky new horror flick. The theater wasn't crowded. They bought tickets for the last row, and the seats next to them remained empty even after the movie started. Cole saw a small hand reach for the popcorn and was suddenly reminded of that first time. He grabbed it. Ah, we're doing it again, Serena murmured, leaning her head on his shoulder and pouting as she wiggled slightly. Doing what again? Cole whispered in her ear. Bullying me, Serena whispered back, tilting her face up to look at him in the dim light. Am I? Yes, you did this last time, you big jerk. Well, does the jerk get to hold you while you watch the movie? Yes, but it's not easy to cuddle here. Seeing his campus queen glancing around at the narrow seats, Cole chuckled to himself. He reached over, lifted her up, and settled her horizontally across his lap. There, that's better. It is. Serena wrapped her arms around his neck happily, kicking her little legs. Cole, my shoes, she cooed. On it. Cole slipped off her white sneakers, holding her two small, white-socked feet in his hands to give her something to brace against as she curled her legs. They whispered about the plot, their discussion punctuated by kisses. Occasionally, when a mood struck, they'd share a long, deep kiss. Stealing tastes of her sweet, milky lips in the dark theater was a special kind of fun. As for the plot or the security cameras, not important. It was all about the atmosphere. An accidental smack from one of their kisses made the couple in front of them turn around. "What the hell?" one of them muttered, before quickly turning back. Then they looked left and right and moved to a different seat at the far end of the row. Yes, the movie was very good, but the plot was very complicated. Cole and Serena discussed it for a long time, and by the end, they had no idea what it was about. If it hadn't been for a phone call, they would have gone back to the Golden Bay residences to continue their discussion. It wasn't until they were downstairs from a gallery that Serena called her mother back. "Hi, Mom." "Serena, where are you? Why didn't you answer your phone?" Helene's voice was as calm as ever. "I was just out walking around. It was noisy, I didn't hear it." "Well, don't go anywhere tomorrow. I'm coming to pick you up and take you to your grandfather's." "Mom, so soon? I thought you said the end of the month." "Your grandfather has been lonely lately. Your cousins aren't around, so you can go keep him company." "I know, Mom." "Okay, pack your things in the morning. I'll be there around noon." "I know, Mom." After hanging up, Serena bit her lip, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. Of course, she wanted to see her grandfather, but she also wanted to be with Cole. 2 months of summer break, 1 month for each would have been perfect. She looked up and saw the concern in Cole's eyes. She forced a smile. "Cole, I have to go to my grandfather's tomorrow afternoon. I was hoping to hang out with Phoebe when she gets here, and we could all go out together." So soon. It had been noisy outside. Cole hadn't heard the phone conversation clearly. He hadn't realized Serena was leaving tomorrow. A wave of disappointment washed over him. 2 months felt like a long time. Suddenly, it felt like 2 years. They didn't see each other every day, but being close, knowing they could see each other whenever they wanted, that was a good feeling. When she was far away, it felt like a piece of his life was missing. A strange sense of panic crept into Cole. Logically, he still had his little Luna, and Jasmine would be back at the end of the month, but he was still panicking. To comfort Serena, he put on a casual smile. "It's okay. I can come visit you in D.C. You can give me a tour of the Lincoln Memorial, haha." "Okay." Serena smiled back, her eyes full of reluctance. Cole had to work during the summer. He didn't have any vacation time, and with the new video site launching, he probably couldn't get away. "Let's head back to campus, then. We can walk around for a bit. You need to pack, so we won't go to my place," Cole said, abandoning his plans to continue tasting her milky lips. Serena's mood seemed to have soured, and some time alone might do her good. Sometimes a bad mood couldn't be chased away by company. A person needed quiet time to think. "Okay," Serena agreed, and then took Cole's hand. She didn't need to get back to her dorm. Her heart was racing, and she couldn't calm down. Cole's thoughtfulness warmed her to her core. They drove back to the law school, parked the car, and walked hand in hand along the road. Once they were in a grove of trees, Serena stopped. She tugged on Cole's shirt and looked up at him. "Baby wants a hug," she whispered. Cole pulled her into his arms, immediately feeling her arms wrap around his waist, squeezing tighter and tighter. He massaged the nape of her neck and gently patted her back. "It's okay, baby. Don't worry. Everything will be all right." "Emma Mitch." "It will be," Serena murmured, burying her face in his neck. The anxiety in her heart calmed a little. They held each other quietly. There was none of their usual playful passion, just a powerful embrace, as if they were trying to merge into one another. There were plenty of other couples cuddling in the woods, but they were the only silent one. As the night grew darker, the other couples dispersed. Cole walked Serena to her dorm building. He waited until she appeared on her balcony upstairs before waving goodbye and leaving. The next morning, a black Audi A8 pulled up to the law school's women's dormitory and drove away with Serena. Cole received a selfie of her pouting and blowing a kiss from the airport. The back of a short-haired, middle-aged woman was visible next to her. He sent back a message, "Be safe. Text me when you land." In his past life, this was classic simp behavior. He had sent messages like this before, and it had always ended up being a joke. Now he was sending it again, and this time he got a reply. "Serena, I've only been gone for a little while, and I already miss you like crazy. Cole, take my thoughts with you. They'll protect you." Kiss emoji. "Serena, I'll protect you too." Kiss emoji, kiss emoji. Once her plane took off, Cole went to the Venture Lab to guide the final stages of the video website's development. July was the hottest month of the summer. Compared to the city, with its lake and river, the mountainous Linden Creek was a little cooler. Jasmine had just returned home after taking her mother for a checkup in Rockford. The round trip combined with the long waits at the hospital, had exhausted her mother. They wouldn't get the results for another 3 days. Her mother's illness was strange. There was no specific lesion, just a progressive weakness day by day, as if her body were being depleted. Fortunately, their family was well off enough to afford the necessary nutritional supplements. An ordinary family would never have been able to manage. Western doctors suspected some kind of recessive genetic condition, but weren't sure. Traditional Chinese doctors suggested it might be a qi and blood deficiency that had been passed down to the next generation, meaning her grandmother's deficiency had caused her mother's. They were all just possibilities. Jasmine didn't know if she would end up the same way, but for now, she felt perfectly normal, full of energy. After helping her mother lie down in bed, Jasmine sat in a chair beside her, peeling longans. Once we get the results, you should go back to school early. My health isn't going to get any worse than this. It is what it is, her mother, Mary, said. Rest for a few days first. If you feel better, I'll take you to see a specialist in the city. We can make a little trip out of it. Jasmine handed her a peeled longan. Fresh ones were only available in July, and eating a few every day was good for you. There's no point. We've already been to D.C. You, on the other hand, should get back and help Cole. Mary looked at her daughter meaningfully. Everything her daughter had told her last night had been unbelievable. The kid had just grown up, and he was already worth millions? If it hadn't come from their daughter's own lips, she and the Chins would never have believed it. It's fine. I already talked to Cole. I'll go back in a few days, Jasmine said, popping a longan into her own mouth, pretending not to see her mother's look. You're usually so smart. Why are you being so dense now? Mary poked her daughter. Cole has money now. If you don't keep a close watch on him, do you think you're the only girl on the planet? If he wants to be bad, watching him won't help, Jasmine sighed internally. It was too late. There are already 2 others. But other than that, he was very obedient. At least if you're there, you can block some of them. If you leave him all alone like this, other women will swoop in. Mary was getting frustrated. Back in the day, so many vixens had their eyes on your father. Luckily, I was vigilant. He's very good about that. He doesn't mess with vixens, Jasmine muttered to herself. But he did mess with 2 nine-tailed fox spirits. You still have to keep a close eye on him. You can help him and keep him company at the same time. I will. As they were talking, they heard a key in the lock. Zhang Yang walked in, carrying bags of meat and groceries. Your great-uncle's sons are coming over tonight. We won't be eating at your godfather's. Jasmine, help me wash the vegetables in a bit. Great-uncle's family? Jasmine looked surprised. Her great-uncle's family had always lived in their ancestral home in Ohio, having inherited the family property. They were much wealthier than her family and had never visited them here. They usually only saw them at ancestral rites when her father went back. Yeah, they said they're making a special trip to see us, John said, his expression relaxed. He seemed happy to see his relatives. Dad, they're probably here to talk about something serious, Jasmine guessed. Although her great-uncle's family lived far away and they didn't see each other often, the connection was still deep. Their ancestral home placed a huge emphasis on family. The Yangs contributed a small amount every year as a token of respect for things like maintaining the ancestral hall or subsidizing elderly relatives. It wasn't without its benefits. Their export orders all went through their family connections there, for which they paid a small fee. Could be, but maybe it's just a normal family visit. It's not like the old days. Travel is much easier now, John said, nodding and then shaking his head. Jasmine thought about it and agreed. She was probably overthinking things. You should stay home for a few days and then get back to the city, John said, echoing his wife's thoughts. A hot-blooded young man with money. How could they not keep a close watch on him? I know, Jasmine promised. She wanted to go back early, too. She missed him terribly. With so much distance between them, the longing grew more intense. Before they had made things clear, it had been somewhat bearable. But ever since he had claimed her, her heart had been completely captured. She thought she could last a month, but it turned out even a single day was agony. Being in the city and not being in the city were 2 completely different states of mind. She had even dreamed of that bad boy last night and woke up to find herself doing the splits. It had scared her half to death. She had no idea if she had made any noise. If her parents had heard her saying something in her sleep, she would never be able to face them. Luckily, they didn't seem to have noticed anything. Around 8 that evening, her great-uncle's sons finally arrived. They both brought their children, a boy and a girl, both a little older than Jasmine and dressed quite fashionably. To Jasmine, who had never been back to her ancestral home, these relatives were like strangers. But they were still close family, and they quickly warmed up to each other. With so many people, the house felt a bit crowded. The tall, standing air conditioner barely kept the living room from getting too hot. This girl of yours, Jasmine, is truly beautiful. She perfectly inherited her mother's genes. Haha, the elder cousin, whom they called Uncle One, said, looking at Jasmine with praise. Yes, she's really beautiful. John, you raised a good daughter, the other cousin Uncle Two added. Yeah, looks aren't that important. As long as she's obedient, John said with a modest smile, though he was actually quite proud. His daughter was like a celestial fairy, even more beautiful than her mother had been in her youth. The adults started reminiscing about the old days, catching up on lost time. The three younger ones chatted on their own. Jasmine, you're graduating next year, right? Asked Michelle Yang, the female cousin. Despite being from the same family, she had drawn the short straw in the looks department, with a large face and a big nose. Not necessarily. I'm preparing for the GREs, Jasmine replied with a smile. So you'll have to study for another 2 years after that. Her male cousin, Dylan Yang, chimed in. He was cut from the same cloth as Michelle, all big, round face. Yes, and if all goes well, I'll go for a Ph.D. But I probably won't have the time, Jasmine said, thinking about how busy she would be in the future. Actually, a bachelor's degree is fine. It's practically the same, Michelle said, pretending to know what she was talking about. There's still a difference. The specialized knowledge you learn is different, Jasmine said, not pointing out her cousin's ignorance on matter. I mean for us girls, we all have to get married eventually. A bachelor's from a top school like yours is more than enough. Grad school is kind of a waste of time, Michelle said, clarifying her point about the importance of education in a marriage market. I agree. You'll be 25 by the time you're done. You'll be an old maid. It'll be harder to find someone then. The good ones all want someone under 25, Dylan added, nodding with a pursed-lipped expression that made him look like a little old man holding court. If I can't find anyone, so be it. I'm definitely going to grad school. I need it for work, and it's fulfilling, Jasmine said, forcing a polite response, a flicker of annoyance rising within her. Why were they even talking about this? Did they have nothing else to discuss? If I were as beautiful as you, I definitely wouldn't go to grad school. Why waste the time? You could find a man with any qualifications you want, Michelle said, a hint of jealousy in her eyes. This cousin really was as beautiful as a fairy. She hadn't believed it when she'd heard people talk, but today, she was a believer. Yeah, cousin, with your looks, you were born to marry some domineering CEO? You should do it while you're young, Dylan added. It was meant as a compliment, but Jasmine heard something else in his tone. A sense of caution began to creep in. Was this really a case of them having an ulterior motive? Was it worth all this? Apparently, it was. We're the most precious resources in this world. Gold and peerless beauties. Since ancient times, both have been the root of conflict. Jasmine swallowed her impatience and continued to politely deflect her cousin's various suggestions. A mix of tea-spilling tactics and blatant PUA. She was the one who had taught Cole how to reject girls with designer bags. Of course, she was on high alert for these kinds of manipulative mind games. Over on the adult side, after a bit of reminiscing, they finally got to the point. They wanted to set Jasmine up with the second son of a major shareholder in a large Ohio-based commercial group. John had been feeling that something was off, and hearing this made his blood pressure spike. So, they were here to sell his daughter. Did they take him for a fool? If they weren't family, he really wanted to scream, "You can take that offer and shove it." He clenched his fists so hard his nails dug into his palms, trying to suppress his anger, but his face still flushed red. John, this is a great opportunity. His family's second son is 30 and still single. Even though he's not the main heir, he still has a lot of say in the company. The shadows from the lamp fell across John's face, and his cousin didn't notice his reddening complexion. That's right, John. You know, a lot of our family's businesses rely on foreign trade. If we can connect with a major shareholder, your company's export orders will be endless. And Jasmine will have a good life, the second cousin added. That's enough, John said, unclenching his fists and waving a hand. I know what you're trying to do. I'm sorry, cousins, but this is not up for discussion. He flatly refused. If he had wanted to make money that way, he never would have brought his wife to Linden Creek in the first place. Back when his wife was so beautiful, before they were married, people had come to her family to introduce her to rich men. In the end, they had eloped. For that alone, John Yang would have been happy to work himself to the bone for her. It was only after his business started to pick up that he went back to pay respects to his ancestors and reconnected with the family. Otherwise, no one would have paid him any mind. The two cousins exchanged a look, their eyes flickering with surprise. Logically, this was a fantastic opportunity. If they had a daughter this beautiful, marrying into a family like that would be a blessing. With Jasmine's looks, the match would be a guaranteed success. But no matter what they said, John just shook his head, refusing adamantly. The bedroom door suddenly opened. Mary, who had been listening the whole time, walked out with a calm smile. Cousins, she said, there's no need to discuss this further. Our Jasmine is already seeing someone. They're getting married after graduation. That's right. Jasmine is taken. They've been together for a long time, John quickly added, following his wife's lead. He was so angry he had forgotten he could have just said this from the beginning. Yes, uncles, I have a boyfriend. We've been together for several years, Jasmine said with a polite smile. It wasn't easy for you to come all this way. Tomorrow, my dad will take you sightseeing. Linden Creek is actually quite nice. The three of them had delivered their lines without a moment's hesitation. The faces of their relatives from Ohio fell. The discussion was over. They had made the trip for nothing. They wouldn't even agree to such a great offer. The man had become a fool. Why don't you two think it over? Jasmine, you think about it too. This is a rare opportunity, the elder cousin said, trying one last time. There's nothing to think about, cousin. Let's just leave it at that. You can stay here tonight. We'll go stay with our in-laws. John refused again. He knew his daughter's personality too well. She was a perfect blend of him and his wife. Don't trouble yourselves. We couldn't possibly kick you out. We'll find a hotel for the night, the elder cousin said, standing up. They'd already brought up the in-laws. There was no point in talking further. The second cousin stood up, followed by the two big-faced kids. John and Mary made a half-hearted attempt to get them to stay, but they couldn't and saw them to the door. Out of politeness, John called them the next morning to invite them for a meal, but was refused. They said they had to catch a flight home. The family of three thought the matter was over. 2 days later, John received payment demands from several of his partner companies in Ohio. In the past, they had always allowed a slight delay, which helped his cash flow before he received payment for his own goods. At the same time, several export deals he was negotiating were rejected. These were old acquaintances, but this time, they gave him no face at all. John sharply realized he had offended someone, and these people didn't even care about family ties. He didn't complain, nor did he tell his wife and daughter. He first took all the money from the company's accounts. He paid over $8 million in order fees to these partners to get through the immediate crisis. But he hadn't expected them to be so ruthless. The export orders that had already been shipped, which were scheduled to be paid soon, were now being delayed. The company's cash flow was broken. That evening, his wife saw his anxiety and finally got the truth out of him. Jasmine found out, too. Dad, I'll talk to Cole. He'll help, Jasmine said. That's not a good idea. I'll try to get a loan from the bank first, John said. How could he ask his future son-in-law for money? Wouldn't that put his daughter in a lower position? In fact, Cole's father had already offered, and he had refused, stubbornly insisting he had connections at the bank. If I don't tell him, he'll be angry, Jasmine said confidently. She knew her man better than anyone. I still don't think it's a good idea, John said, waving his hands so fast they became a blur. Asking his not-yet-official son-in-law for money. Where would he, a proud man from Ohio, put his face? His daughter would feel indebted for the rest of her life. I understand what you're saying, but you don't know Cole, Jasmine insisted. If I don't tell him, he'll think I'm creating a rift between us. She knew very well that Cole was extremely possessive. You couldn't hide things from him. Besides, the money couldn't be a direct handout. It had to be an investment, or it would be illegal. They had to act fast. Cole had even told her before that her family should prepare to diversify and not rely solely on contract manufacturing for export. Not only were they losing profit to middlemen, but their lifeline was also in someone else's hands. Now his words had come true. The Yang family had started with domestic sales, but as too many factories popped up in the country, domestic sales tanked, and they switched to exports. Lacking an overseas office, they had to rely on their family network for orders, and the family took a hefty cut of the profits. All right then, you can try talking to him. See if he's interested in investing here. I'll give old Chin a heads up. We should be open about this, John relented. He knew the money couldn't be a direct transfer. It had to come through investment channels. And he didn't have a shred of influence at the bank. In fact, he still had outstanding business loans. With his cash flow broken, he was relying on his personal savings to stay afloat. A capital injection was urgently needed. Otherwise, he'd have to seek other investors and get fleeced, or even lose control of his company. Jasmine, talk it over with Cole. If it's too much for him, just forget it, Mary said, her eyes filled with worry, afraid it would affect the young couple's relationship. I know, Mom. Don't worry, Jasmine said, and went into her room to make the call. The line was busy. In the office building at the gallery in the city, Cole was on the phone. Cole, you have to be mindful of your Uncle John's pride. Mr. Chun, the accountant, was saying on the other end. Our family has relied on his trust for years. He's your future father-in-law. You can't just throw your weight around now that you have money. Then, Mrs. Chen's voice came on. Cole, if you can help, you absolutely must. If you really can't, your dad and Uncle John will figure something out. Dad, I know. I can help. Mom, don't worry, Cole promised. His parents continued to nag for a while, afraid their son would become arrogant. Cole, of course, agreed to everything. After hanging up, he saw a missed call from Jasmine and immediately called back. Jasmine, I know everything. Leave it to me. Cole, can you handle it? Easily. It's a piece of cake. This is the perfect opportunity for Uncle John to pivot. Pivot to what? Let's do specialty spicy snacks. Create our own brand. With headline today, what's there to fear? Cole considered Linden Creek's environment. It had an abundance of spicy raw ingredients. They could recruit distributors in major cities and get the snacks into convenience stores and supermarkets. A few ad campaigns on headline would make finding distributors a breeze. In 2 or 3 years, they could even do direct-to-consumer online sales. Once the company grew, they could consider other products. Okay, let's go with your idea. All right, Jasmine, send me the company's bank account info. Talk to Uncle John and decide on a new company name. Then send me all the relevant details. Okay. After hanging up, Cole waited for the account information while busily discussing the final details of the video site with Wyatt. Jasmine's tone had been just like a wife talking to her husband, with no deliberate flattery because she was asking for help. Cole loved that. They had known each other since they were kids. There was no need for any of that pretense. He already had an idea for her birthday present. The money transfer had to be done as an investment. Transferring from a corporate account to a personal one was illegal. Even if it were to his own account, it couldn't be a large sum unless it was a salary or expense reimbursement. Otherwise, it could be flagged for money laundering or tax evasion. If someone fabricated a story about headline today evading taxes and the IRS came knocking, it would be a disaster. A company-to-company investment, however, was completely above board. He could transfer the emergency funds first and sign the investment contract later. A moment later, Cole received the account number from Jasmine and immediately forwarded it to Luna. Luna, my love, transfer $1.5 million to this company account. It's an equity investment. We'll sign the agreement later. Okay, Luna replied without asking any questions. She would execute Cole's work orders meticulously. Since both were major national banks, the transfer would take no more than 2 hours. Back in Linden Creek, John and Mary stared at the notification of the $1.5 million deposit, hardly able to believe it. That little kid they used to know, only 19 years old, and with a single word, $1.5 million had arrived. Mary asked cautiously, Jasmine, is that all it took? Yep. What else did you think it would take? Jasmine said with a casual air, but her heart was overflowing with happiness. Sigh, that boy Cole. We didn't dote on him for nothing. Mary sighed. Of course not. He's incredibly capable, Jasmine said, the corners of her mouth turning up involuntarily. You two should pay more attention to the business. It's yours, after all. Let Dad and Godfather handle it. Cole probably doesn't have the time, and I need to help him. That busy? Yes. Dad, Cole said we should switch to making spicy snacks. He said they'll always sell well, and we can make enough just from domestic sales. Jasmine looked at her father and repeated Cole's idea. Headline today, can it really work? John didn't understand the internet. It can. It's great for advertising. That's how Cole makes all his money from ad revenue. All right then. The export orders are definitely gone. We'll switch out the equipment and start fresh. John no longer hesitated. Cole had built such a huge business. Listening to him couldn't be wrong. He immediately called Mr. Chun, then went over to the Chin's house to discuss changing the company name and replacing the equipment. They also notified the minor shareholders, who all agreed. They were thrilled someone was injecting capital to save the company. They didn't care what they produced, as long as it made money. That evening, Cole, back at Eastwood, received the new company name from Jasmine. Spicy Mama's Foods, LLC. He chuckled. It sounded a bit like a brand he knew from his past life. It seemed Mr. Chun and Uncle John weren't so old after all. They still had some good ideas. The next morning, Cole drafted a power of attorney and sent an upperclassman from the legal department's copyright team on a business trip. He was to go to the state capitol, deliver all the documents to their lawyer, Mr. Zhao, and have him handle the signing of this investment agreement and another document. The students set off immediately. Business trips came with a per diem. It was like getting paid to take a day trip. 3 days later, in Linden Creek, the investment agreement for Spicy Mama's Foods, LLC, was officially signed. After signing on Cole's behalf, Mr. Zhao didn't linger. He arranged to meet Jasmine at the Creekside Galleria and gave her the other document. Jasmine stared at the share transfer agreement for a long time without speaking. Ms. Yang, please sign it. I have to get back, Mr. Zhao said, handing her a pen and an ink pad. Mr. Zhao had met this director of operations from Headline Today before. What he hadn't expected was for Mr. Chun to unconditionally transfer 42% of the $1.5 million investment's equity to her. The relationship between these two families was anything but ordinary, and Cole was incredibly generous. The CFO of this new company was even Cole's own father. Whatever he thought, I don't know anything. I just do my job and get paid. Jasmine took a few deep breaths, then picked up the pen, signed her name, and pressed her thumb onto the ink pad. There was no need to overthink family matters. What was hers was his, and what was his would one day belong to their children. Please keep both copies, Mr. Zhao said, not taking Cole's copy with him. As per Cole's instructions, even the power of attorney was to be left here. Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Zhao, Jasmine said politely. Hey, it's my job. No trouble at all. I wish I had more private business like this, huh? Mr. Zhao said with a wave and headed back to the state capital. That evening, when Zhanyang got home and learned about the share transfer, he was overcome with emotion. He immediately went back to the Chin's house to have a drink with old Chun. Once the agreement was signed, it was signed. Returning it or tearing it up would just seem overly dramatic and distant. After a 20-year relationship between their families, there was no need for such theatrics. It all belonged to the kids anyway. From that day on, Linden Creek had a new company, Spicy Mama's Foods, LLC. The old factory was cleared out, the old equipment sold, and new food production lines were purchased. They began acquiring raw materials. Jasmine didn't rush back to the city, but stayed to help with some of the administrative work. In the city, on July 20th, a Wednesday, Cole was in Vanessa Fan's office on the 8th floor of the gallery, grinning from ear to ear as he looked at 3 brand new licenses. The licenses for the video site had all come through. Vanessa, you're amazing. This is fantastic. With these, the video site can go live, and the short-form content team can start creating. Short-form content team? Vanessa asked, curious. Doesn't that require a director? It does. The media school has a TV and film production program. They're desperate for work opportunities. You're not hiring an experienced professional director? Too expensive. Can't afford it. Final year students are the best. As long as they can grasp the genre, they'll be absolutely fine. Does that make money? Of course. It's just one part of making the video site more profitable. Headline Today is the foundation for the video site's revenue, Cole said with complete confidence. The video site was in its final testing phase, confirming the link between Headline's creator platform and the new site. But first, there was another problem to solve. Vanessa, are there any more offices for rent? I need to find a home for our Slice video. It needs to be separate from Headline. Let me think. Vanessa started twirling her pen again. After staring at a corner for a moment, she said, how about this? I'll move my company from the 32nd floor down here. You can take that half floor. You can arrange it however you like. Awesome, Vanessa. You're the best. Don't worry, I'll pay the rent in full. Business is business, Cole said, giving her a thumbs up. Then he put on an embarrassed expression. It's just such a hassle for you. All right, stop it. Your acting is terrible, Vanessa said, tapping him with her pen and laughing. When her eyes crinkled, the already beautiful mature woman exuded an extra dose of charm. Vanessa, I'll head up then. Cole didn't dare look at her for too long and quickly made his excuses. There was still so much to do. As he left, Lin Fan, who had been standing by the door, quickly followed him. This was the reason he didn't dare look for too long. He didn't want the little Spitfire to say something out of line. Vanessa froze for a second, then burst out laughing. Her daughter was obsessed like a walking, talking recorder. It was a shame. They wouldn't make a good couple. Otherwise, he would have been a good choice. No, that wouldn't work either. He was too much of a player. Lin would never be able to handle him. A flurry of thoughts ran through Vanessa's mind. She was worried about her daughter's future. With her personality, most people wouldn't be able to stand her. If she settled for someone just for their family background, she would surely be miserable. A look of worry crossed Vanessa's face, and she let out a long sigh. Sigh. If only Cole wasn't such a player. In just 3 days, the 32nd floor was entirely Cole's. Slice Video officially hung its sign. Vanessa had even delivered the business license and other documents. She was incredibly efficient. Cole temporarily appointed himself as the head of Slice Video. After posting a job ad on Headline Today, hundreds of students came to interview. The director of the in-house production team was ultimately decided to be a skinny fourth-year senior who had a profound understanding of the push and pull between domineering CEOs and their naive Cinderellas. The actors would be chosen from Eastwood's own art school. The goal was to turn Fiona's novel, Cat Loves Dog, into a short-form series as quickly as possible. In Cole's office at Headline, Amy's expression was a little emotional. Mr. Chun, I want to be the female lead. I know I could do a good job. Are you sure? The lead is a goody two-shoes Cinderella. Can you really grasp the essence of that? The vicious female rival is also a great role, you know, Cole said with a sly grin. I don't want to be the vicious rival. All my followers on Headline will abandon me. Amy, dressed in a long t-shirt and short skirt, shook her head firmly. Her pigtails swung back and forth, full of youthful energy. When she found out Sly's Video had its own production team, she had been itching to try her hand at acting. It was also a chance to learn and grow. As for her pursuit of Cole, she had put that on the back burner. It was too exhausting. It was better to focus on her career. Who knows, maybe one day they would just click. Trying too hard was counterproductive. All right, I'll get you the role. If you do well, there will be other opportunities. The position of head of the production team is still open. As long as she was willing to work hard, Cole didn't mind using people he knew. Mr. Chun, I'll work my hardest. Amy's eyes lit up. She was determined to get that position. After Amy left, Cole began to flesh out Slice Video's organizational structure. He found himself wishing Jasmine would come back soon. There were too many things for one person to handle. He needed departments to fill Slice's content library, to negotiate copyrights. He also needed an advertising department, a data analysis department, and so on. He started by picking a willing veteran from each of Headline's departments to be the new supervisors. They would then build their own teams. Fortunately, these supervisors had enough experience to make Cole's life much easier. Slice Video was purely for PC. A mobile version wasn't feasible yet. The bandwidth wasn't there, and users couldn't handle the data consumption. That day, an ad for Slice Video, posted by the official Headline account, appeared on the platform. Amy and Preston were the models. It informed users that the two platforms were interconnected and that accounts could be linked. Long-form videos published on Headline would appear on Slice Video, and long-form videos could also be uploaded through Slice Video's creator backend. The news sent users into a frenzy. They could upload gaming videos, vlogs of their daily lives, and all sorts of tutorials. They could enjoy Headline's recommendation algorithm and reach a wider audience. Slice Video's user count skyrocketed. These new users would quickly populate the site with content. At 8 o'clock that night, Cole was still in his office, alone, observing the data on Slice Video's backend. These past few days, Luna had also been incredibly busy. She, Brianna, and Felicity had divided up the tasks. The company's financials had become even more complex. Even with the 2 additional accountants they had hired, they were still overwhelmed. Cole stood up and stretched, his thoughts drifting to D.C. Serena hadn't replied to his messages for 2 days straight. He had no idea what was going on. In a suburb west of D.C., inside a room on the 3rd floor of the Chun family residence, Serena pounded on the door. "Mom, my phone is dead. Bring me a charger." Her beautiful face was pale and gaunt. She had never imagined this. She had said she wanted to go back to Eastwood, and her grandfather had even agreed, but her mother had refused. The next morning, she woke up to find herself locked in her room. Food and clothing were passed through a crack in the door by her grandfather's housekeeper. She tried to force her way out, but the housekeeper was too vigilant. No matter what she said, the housekeeper refused to let her out, saying she would lose her job. In the end, Serena couldn't bring herself to push it. Communicating with her mother was useless. She just wouldn't let her go back, saying she had to wait until the end of summer break. They would bring her anything, except a charger. There was no computer in the room. Her phone had been dead for 2 days. She was frantic, imagining how worried Cole must be. A deep anxiety began to set in. Her long-standing obedience to her mother made her endure it. "Mom, I'm begging you, give me a charger. I promise I'll stay until the end of summer, okay?" There was no answer from outside the door, not even her grandfather's voice. Serena tugged on the lock of the solid wood door. It wouldn't budge. Mom, M.O.M., she screamed, her voice nearly breaking. Still, no one responded. Serena looked at the dead phone in her hand. A surge of rage washed over her. She raised it, about to smash it against the door. But in the next second, she stopped. If she destroyed her phone, she'd have no way of contacting Cole at all. She forced herself to take deep breaths, trying to dispel the frenzy in her heart to calm down. But the anxiety was gradually drowning her. It became hard to breathe, her chest felt tight, and her mind was a chaotic mess. She truly didn't understand why her mother was doing this. She had promised to stay until after the break, and still her mother wouldn't open the door. What was the reason for this? She was a grown-up, an adult. She really, truly didn't understand. She was a person. A person. Why was she being treated like this? She ran to the window, pushed it open, and shouted a few times. Still no answer. She looked down. This was the third floor. The wall was sheer with nothing to climb on. Heartbroken, she returned to the door and started pounding on it with all her might. Bang, 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 bang. She pounded until her fists were raw, but there was no response from outside. She slid down the door, her back against it, and sat on the floor, her eyes vacant. In the living room on the first floor, Harrison Chun, Serena's grandfather, looked at his daughter. Is this really the right way to handle this? Locking her up isn't a solution. What other choice do I have? The moment I let her out, she'll run straight to that little punk, Helen, he said, her face grim as she stared out at the yard. Why don't you just explain things to her clearly? The old man pleaded. Dad, it can't be explained. Helen turned to face her father. Can't you see she's already bewitched? He's completely mesmerized her. Serena is so sensible. She'll understand. You need to communicate with her properly, the old man said, helpless. Years ago, his late wife had wanted to lock up their own daughter in the same way. She hadn't, and in the end, their daughter had insisted on marrying David Chun. Now, history was repeating itself with his granddaughter, and he didn't know what to say. He didn't know if locking her up was right or wrong. Even after all these years, some things were still a mystery. So he hadn't stopped her. She's fallen down a rabbit hole. How can she understand? There's no communicating with her. Helen's voice rose. Helen, you can't keep her locked up forever. Serena has always been obedient. She should be able to listen to reason. Go talk to her properly, the old man said. He didn't want her locked up like this, but he was also afraid that if he let her out, she would be led astray. Just then, the housekeeper returned from outside, holding a large envelope. Ms. Your mail. Helen took it. It was the letter of acceptance for transfer to Georgetown University. A friend she had entrusted with the task had handled it. Now, all she needed was to take this to Eastwood and process the transfer application. At Eastwood, Professor Evelyn had already done the preliminary work. But the university was a major D1 school, and Evelyn couldn't force the issue. The dean's office insisted on the student's personal signature. I'll go talk to her, Helen said, heading upstairs. At the door, she slid an application form under the crack. Sign this, and I'll let you out. Inside the room, Serena's mind had already drifted to the city. She felt dazed, her chest tight with nausea, her body weak. The feeling of anxious restlessness made her emotions boil, but her reason kept them suppressed, always on the verge of an explosion. When she heard her mother's words, her spirits lifted. She picked up the paper from the floor and unfolded it. The words voluntary student transfer application burned into her eyes. Serena froze. This was a frantic anxiety erupted from the depths of her soul. She shot to her feet. She hammered on the door in a frenzy. Bang, 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 bang. I don't want to transfer. I don't want to transfer. I don't want to transfer. Let me out. Let me out. Why are you making me transfer? I won't sign it. I don't need to transfer. She pounded on the door with unprecedented force, using every ounce of her strength. When her fists gave out, she started kicking. Thud, thud, thud. The tremendous noise startled everyone in the house. Even the neighbors, who lived a short distance away, heard it. The residents here were almost all high-level retired officials, who had this kind of commotion in their home. It was terrifying. They thought something terrible had happened. Someone went to ask. The old man quickly had the housekeeper go deal with them, while he himself went to the bottom of the stairs. Helen, let her out. Don't do this anymore, the old man said. He couldn't get up the stairs in his wheelchair. Just sign it. Mom is doing this for your own good. Georgetown has a fantastic academic environment. It's perfect for you, Helen said, a little shocked. Her usually docile daughter had never acted like this. Nevertheless, she pressed on with her plan. But the only answer she received was more kicking. Calm down. Mom will talk to you properly, Helen said, her face uncertain, a growing unease in her heart. The door suddenly went silent. Serena's calm voice came through, punctuated by gasps for breath. Talk. The tone was like that of a stranger, and it made Helen freeze. She swallowed and continued. Transferring is for your own good. Without any other distractions, you can finish your credits at an accelerated pace. You can take the LSAT in your junior year and go straight into a J.D. program. You're 19 now. You'll be 20 in your junior year. We'll aim to finish your doctorate in 5 years. You'll only be 25 then. You can go directly into a federal agency in D.C. Your starting point will be higher than anyone else's. With your hard work, and with your uncle's help, you'll reach a position others can only dream of before you're even 30. In the future, Helen rambled on about her plans for her daughter, but she felt an unnerving silence from within the room. Serena, are you listening? Serena, are you listening? Mom is doing all of this for you, to help you find a better version of yourself. Thump! A muffled thud. But this sound didn't come from inside the room. It came faintly from downstairs, outside the house. It was immediately followed by the panicked shouts of the other housekeeper. Oh my God! Oh my God! Somebody help! Somebody help! In the instant she jumped out the window, Serena had only one thought. I can't listen to those words anymore. The voice drilled into her ears, into her brain, like the Monkey King's tightening headband in the stories. It made her head throb. The extreme repression, the frantic helplessness, it all made her want to get away, immediately, as far as possible. The normally calm and rational Serena didn't even consider the consequences of the fall. Thump! A massive jolt shot through her body. Her remaining consciousness registered that she had landed on the canopy of her grandfather's tea gazebo. Inertia sent her rolling toward the edge. Other than that, her mind was blank. She thought of nothing. Instead, she felt a liberating sense of release, until she rolled off the canopy and landed on the soft soil of the vegetable patch, where her grandfather grew scallions and garlic. Her body jolted again. Serena stared blankly at the bright blue sky. Vaguely, she saw Cole's doting smile. The corners of her own mouth turned up. She felt no pain, only the exhilarating freedom of escaping that room and its magic spell, and the satisfaction of conquering her fear of heights. So, a fear of heights is nothing, after all. The next second, she knew nothing at all. The yard erupted into chaos. 2 security guards rushed over to check on the situation and immediately called for paramedics. The old man, frantic, wheeled himself out. The moment he saw his granddaughter lying in the dirt, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Oh, my Serena!" he cried, launching himself down the steps. He landed with a clatter, falling to the ground, and started crawling toward his granddaughter. At that moment, the old man was filled with a bottomless regret. Memories of his granddaughter's kindness and goodness flooded his mind, and the regret was so intense it felt like it was twisting his insides. He regretted not stopping his daughter from taking this course of action. The housekeeper immediately ran over to help him up. Upstairs, Helen also came tearing down the stairs, her face pale, and ran outside, letting out a heart-wrenching cry. Serena. Meanwhile, far away in the office building at the gallery, Cole was in a meeting with the Slice video team. For no reason at all, he felt agitated and couldn't calm down. It was as if something were squeezing his heart, making it hard to breathe. All right, that's all for today. The review team needs to keep a close eye on the content standards. Meeting adjourned. The meeting was only for the managers. The creative team had their own work and weren't present. The meeting had only just started a few minutes ago. Everyone was surprised. Cole was known for his quick meetings, but this was a first. Back in his office, Cole took out his phone. Still no message from Serena. This wasn't normal. It wasn't in her character not to reply. Had something happened? After thinking for a moment, Cole called Spencer Chun. He shouldn't have made this call. Spencer was on their side. Why would he tell him anything? And they were business partners. It wasn't appropriate to involve him in personal matters. But with no other way to reach Serena, he had to try. "Hello. Spencer, are you busy?" "Not busy. Is something wrong with Slice?" Spencer's voice on the other end sounded normal. "Slice is fine. It's a personal matter I was hoping you could help with." "Go ahead." "To be honest, I haven't been able to contact Serena for a few days. It's not like her not to reply. Do you know what's going on?" "I don't. I'm in Miami." Spencer's voice was still calm, with a hint of surprise. "Oh, then never mind." Cole was a little disappointed. "She should be at home. I don't know anything else. You two are so close. How could you not be in touch?" "Maybe her phone died." "Probably." "All right, I have to go. I'm a bit busy." "Okay." After hanging up, Cole's eyes grew calm. He began to replay their short conversation. After thinking it over and over, he couldn't find anything strange. Spencer hadn't acted abnormally. Could Serena's phone be broken? But if it were, she would have gotten it fixed or bought a new one. What on earth was going on? Had her family made her break up with him, and she had agreed? That didn't seem right either. If Serena had really made that decision, she would have told him. Cole's mind started racing with all sorts of possibilities. The unease in his heart wouldn't go away. He even considered asking Spencer to check with his family, but he immediately dismissed the thought. That would be inappropriate. He was an outsider asking someone to inquire about their family situation. It was rude, especially to an investor who had put in $10. $5 million. Knock, knock, knock. Yvonne walked in. "Mr. Chun, there's a phone call for you." It's Willow Liu, a managing director from Vantage Ventures. "What does she want?" "An investment." Cole didn't even look up, his mind still on Serena. "Probably." "She didn't say. She said she wanted to talk to you." "What do you think?" Yvonne had a sharp eye and noticed something was off with Cole. She asked again, Mr. Chun, did you not sleep well last night? I'm not interested. Headline isn't accepting any outside investment, especially from big capital, Cole said, his face expressionless, ignoring her second question. Got it. I'll call her back in a bit. Yvonne walked closer to Cole and touched his forehead. You don't look well. Your face is a bit pale. Are you sure you're not sick? Slice had just launched, and there was a mountain of work. This freshman-turned-sophomore was working so hard he barely ate. It's nothing. I'm probably just tired. Cole's eyes stared blankly ahead. Do you want to go home and rest? Yvonne was a little worried. He was the soul of the company. If he collapsed, the whole company would be in a panic. No need. A cup of coffee will do the trick. Cole raised a finger and gently tapped her hand, which was still on his forehead. How long are you going to leave that there? I was just checking if you had a fever. I'm not trying to take advantage of you. Honestly, Yvonne huffed and pulled her hand back. She took Cole's mug and went out, returning a moment later with a steaming cup of instant coffee. If something's wrong, you should talk about it. Don't keep it bottled up. I know, I will. Cole took a sip of the coffee. It was slightly too hot, and the heat traveled from his throat all the way down to his stomach, scalding his heart along the way. Call me if you need anything, Yvonne said with concern. Okay. Seeing Cole's distracted state, Yvonne sighed to herself and swayed out of the office, taking a long look back before closing the door. With the first lady away, the second lady also gone, and the third lady incredibly busy, this should have been her chance to swoop in. But seeing Cole in this state, she wasn't in the mood to flirt. What a waste of the special silk stockings and short skirt she had worn today, which she'd even changed into in the bathroom. Now she'd have to change back before leaving. Otherwise, she'd attract too much attention, which would make her uncomfortable. Indeed. See, at Georgetown University Hospital on the 20th floor in a VIP room. The room was spacious, with a sofa, coffee table, air conditioning, and a refrigerator. An unconscious Serena was wheeled in. Two nurses transferred her to the bed. Stick to a light diet, get plenty of rest, and do more exercise after you've recovered. The head of orthopedics, Dr. Rao, told Helen Is my granddaughter going to be all right, doctor? The old man in the wheelchair asked, his eyes full of anxiety. Don't worry, Mr. Chun, it's not too serious, Dr. Rao said, her tone a mix of respect and deference. She has a sprained right ankle with tendon swelling, a minor hairline fracture in her right tibia, a dislocated right shoulder, some abrasions, and multiple soft tissue injuries on her right side. We've treated everything. With some medication and bed rest, she'll be fine in a few weeks. She continued. The canopy broke her fall, and the ground was soft soil, so the impact wasn't as great as it could have been. However, you should pay close attention to her mental health to prevent any similar accidents in the future. Good, as long as she's okay. Thank you, doctor. The old man's tense face relaxed a little. You're welcome. It's our duty to heal the sick. Mr. Chun, I'll be heading back to my office. If you need anything, just have a nurse call me, Dr. Rao said politely. She then turned to Helen, smiled, and said, Ms. Please call me if you need anything. With that, she left. Please, if you need to talk, use the sitting area. We don't want to disturb the patient, said the private nurse assigned to the room. Oh, yes, of course. The old man quickly turned his wheelchair, and the nurse helped push him over to the sofa area. Helen was still silently staring at her daughter's face. Her heart ached, but she also truly couldn't understand. Her sweet, obedient daughter had actually chosen to jump from the third floor. If it hadn't been for that canopy, if it hadn't been for her father's vegetable patch below, she would have been crippled for life. Helen's expression shifted, her face a storm of conflicting emotions. It was that cold Chun. If it weren't for him, her daughter would still be fine, still be her good, obedient girl. You become who you associate with. Her daughter had become like this because cold Chun had corrupted her. The sound of hurried footsteps came from the hallway. David Chun rushed in, first calling out Dad to the old man, then rushing to his daughter's bedside. He took her hand, and tears streamed down the face of the city's top official. How could this happen? How could this happen? My Serena. The doctor said it's not serious. Don't worry too much. Let Serena rest, the old man said from the sitting area. David knew he shouldn't disturb his daughter. He wiped his tears and looked up at his wife with a complicated expression. Should he blame her? Yes, but he couldn't bring himself to say the words. This girl, once so lively and lovely, had followed him to another state, silently supporting his career while settling for a modest job as a director at the local education department. He knew his wife had poured her heart and soul into their daughter. He knew she wanted their daughter to walk the path she herself had never taken. He knew the burden on their daughter was heavy, but he had never expected this. They were the two loves of his life. He wanted to blame her, but he couldn't bear to. The words of accusation died on his lips. But if he didn't blame her, it would be unfair to his daughter. Was there no responsibility just because nothing had happened before? Did something terrible have to happen before there was responsibility? He was responsible, too. He should blame himself. Why hadn't he encouraged his wife to ease up on their daughter's intense upbringing? Helen's face was filled with grief. She looked at her husband and said, "The main cause of this is that student, Cole Chun. When we go back to Linden Creek, we need to—" "Helen," David interrupted her, whispering, "have you still not realized what the problem is?" "I'm talking about the problem," Helen said, thinking her husband was genuinely asking. "No, what you're talking about is not the problem. Serena is grown up, Helen. She's not 3 or 8 or 10. A worried frown creased David's brow. He took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to scold her, and pulled her toward the old man. "Let's talk over there." Interrupted, Helen was a little annoyed. She tried to pull away but couldn't, so she followed her husband to the sitting area. "Helen, let's forget about the transfer. As long as Serena is willing, it doesn't matter where she studies," David said, pulling his wife down onto the sofa next to him. He took a tissue and wiped the corners of his eyes. "How can we not transfer? Serena will still be influenced by him," Helen said, glaring at her husband. "Helen," David's voice suddenly rose. Realizing he was losing control, he lowered his voice again. "You know better than I do why Serena jumped. We can't push her anymore. If we do, something truly terrible will happen, and we'll regret it for the rest of our lives." He couldn't bring himself to point out his wife's own unfulfilled ambitions, since she had made those sacrifices for him. But he truly couldn't push their child any further. Helen was at a loss for words, her eyes flickering with a mixture of regret and stubbornness. She was doing fine at Eastwood. Her studies weren't suffering. In fact, she was learning a lot more, David gently reasoned. "We need to adjust our mindset, accept the fact that she's grown up, and let her choose the life she wants." For David to say this, he had to overcome his own internal struggles. His daughter was an adult now. Eventually, she would be with the person she loved. No matter how much parents interfered, it would always be wrong. Good or bad, adults had to be responsible for their own choices. What does she know about choosing? "She's not suited to be with someone in business," Helen said in a moment of panic, saying something she never would have said before. David's gaze hardened. Before he entered public service, his family had been in business. Her words had struck a nerve. "Helen, if you regret being with me, don't take it out on Serena." "I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Serena." "They're two different things," Helen quickly corrected herself, realizing her slip of the tongue. "Who you were talking about isn't important. Helen, I just want you to understand one thing." In front of his father-in-law, David began to counsel the director of the education department. "Our life is already very good. It's a level most people can't reach. No matter what Serena chooses, she will have a good life in the future. We need to learn to cherish what we have, to be content. Serena has the right to make her own choices. We should respect her personal will. We can focus our energy on doing our jobs well. I'll boost Rockford's economic development. You'll advance education. We'll work together to benefit the community. That's what we should be doing." David, ever the capable local leader, always had a clear perspective on his work. "Easy for you to say. Serena." More footsteps. Serena's 2 aunts-in-law walked in. Helen had to stop talking. In front of her 2 sisters-in-law, Helen refused to mention the real cause of the incident, only saying that Serena had accidentally fallen. The 2 aunts weren't so easily fooled, but they didn't ask any more questions. The D.C. sun blazed down, but in the city, a sudden torrential rain began to fall. The sky turned dark as night. Cole stood by the window, picked up his phone, and called Spencer Chun again. "Hello, Spencer, do you have a minute to talk?" "Sure, go ahead." The sound of a flushing toilet came from the other end. "I haven't heard from Serena. I have a bad feeling, and I can't focus on work. This is going to seriously affect Slice Video's performance. I was planning a promotional event, but now I don't feel like doing it." There was a long silence on the other end. Then, Spencer finally asked, "Are you asking me to check on her?"